He wouldn't let me talk.
Okay, so we should be live now. And waiting for my YouTube page to pop up.
Oh, Lee, I know mine, the key reset, the stream key.
Yep.
Talk.
Is that possible with yours? Oh no, look at that. There's an ad. Never mind.
Yeah, it's up.
The
We're
I'm
good to
just
go.
a stupid CP. Don't mind me.
The chat's already saying refresh and it's live, so we must be live.
Yep. Hey guys, we're gonna do a quick sound check like we always do. Cody, say hello.
Hello, beautiful people.
You sound beautiful. CP.
Hi.
CP sounds good. Bryan.
Oh, you.
And our special guest, Durban from Durbania. Go ahead.
Hello, how you guys doing? I got
Good.
coffee. I'm ready.
All right, cool. Let us know in the chat if you guys can hear us. If you can, then we'll go ahead and start the intro. So, opening monster now. Okay. Come on, everybody. Let me know. Let me know.
That delay.
That delay,
Oh,
man. I tell you, it'll get you. It'll get you every time.
Sound is good, but no picture.
Well, that's because I have the intro up, so that's
Artwork. Okay.
Yeah.
How would
You
you
should
sit
see
in to turn
artwork.
that
You're
delay
good.
off?
We can hear everyone. Everyone sounds good, so we're good.
All right, guys. Here we go.
We can EHAR.
That rock and roll music coming at you.
I want to go whip up a bunk cake in the meantime.
I left my oven on.
I'm literally headbanging right now. Can you feel it?
No, I can't see you.
You look like you're having a nice run through a brisk summer day. That's oh shit. I'm all right.
I'm not really reviewing.
I need to do a drum cover of this. That's a good idea, Heartbreaker.
Somebody asked me what the song is. Flying I'm trying to think of the last time that you were chewing everything. Who that was with? To his that same as like you.
On your Oscars.
Oh, that might be. Who won that? Newton and Dino Ty. Another Ty.
Yes,
What is up, everybody? Oh, I see Durban's window's a little small. I can fix that, though. But in the meantime, while I'm fixing his window, we have a very special guest who looks very small right now. Durban from Durbania. He looks small, but boy, does he have a big heart, and he is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Highly knowledgeable about all things cinema, and it's an honor to have him on the show. Durban, tell us about you and your channel. Go ahead, brother.
Awesome. Well, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this for the first time ever, so I'm super excited about that. My channel is called Durbania, so I do a lot of movie reviews, movie talk, ranking videos. I do this thing I call a theological analysis, where I like to dig deep into symbolism of movies and find the messages and stuff. So come on over. Let's have an awesome movie conversation.
Yeah,
well, we
I
already
love
have one of
theological
those
analysis.
people, so.
Those are good.
Fun.
Bryan, how are you doing while I'm fixing Durban's window?
I am good, yeah. I'm making a backlog of videos that will be coming on my channel. I've got like 25 videos filmed and edited, ready to go. I've got a lot of series planned. I've got a baby on the way.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. I'm planning on, when that baby comes, not having to do much via YouTube. So I want to get a load of stuff in the can just before it arrives. So.
Did you just say you have 25 videos edited and ready to go?
I did.
That's what he was telling us yesterday. I was like, wow. I said I could have used that kind of
that's
kind of
insane.
effort back in October.
So I've got Final Destination and Scream done and dusted. From Dusk Till Dawn, done and dusted. the whole franchise is like. I will be making my way into Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I'm really dreading. So
That's gonna be fun.
Man, I tell you, if I have one video on deck ready to go, extra, it's a good day. Because I'm pretty much video to video type guy.
I have 3 on deck right now, and you have no idea how excited I am to just have 3.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, that takes determination.
It takes a lot to not upload them.
Durbania and Bryan have an echo.
Oh, no.
I got this.
I feel like I said that twice already. It's just so strange.
It's just, I don't know. I'm hoping it's not me. I just got this microphone, so it's, you know.
No, it's coming from Bryan, too, apparently.
Yeah. We always have some little technical hiccups the first 5 minutes.
Well, that's what happens when you're live, and then you're just kind of stuck with it, and then everybody's like, "Oh my goodness."
Now I fixed Durbin's, but Bryan should not have an echo because his is backed off all the way, so that's going to be on his end if he's got an echo. Say something, Bryan.
Oh.
Hello. Do you hear an echo?
He sounds good on my end, but. Yeah, in OBS, you have to turn down the NDI feature, and I've already gotten way too technical for you.
Yeah, you just throwing letters at us.
Yeah, but basically, you have 2 audio devices up at the same time. You have to you have to turn down the volume all the way on one of them. That's basically what has to happen. And everybody's down. I just had to turn down Durbin's, but
You definitely got to turn down mine. I'm a naturally loud guy, and one time I had a job and I got in trouble for how loud I was. And I was a DJ on a radio station, and I got in trouble for how loud I am. So,
that's awesome.
Apparently the audio is good now. So
yeah. Well,
and yes, Roy Dreyer Durbania is the guy that I do State of the DCEU with. So you recognize him.
I watched that, and oh my god, it's intimidating listening to you guys talk about the DC and digging so deep into like every little sub franchise under that. It's really good stuff.
I'm a DC guy, so I love it. I'm glad Cody wanted to do this stuff with me, and he's just as much as a nerd as I am with that because that stuff is a blast to do.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, like Durbin. Quick question for you: is that like your what kind of video do you get really excited to do? Is there a certain type of genre?
You know, my absolute favorite is anything superhero, DC and Marvel. I just love talking superheroes, but my favorite genre, just period, I love sci-fi, I love fantasy. So, like, when you go to my channel, you see a lot of sci-fi movie talk, you see a lot of superhero movie talk, you see a lot of, you won't see a lot of Oscar bait, because that's just not me.
Yeah.
But I love sci-fi, fantasy, superhero, action.
Yeah, and I think that's what's like. We all, I mean, you can say many of us are mostly horror, but even me, I still do. I like doing superhero movies. I like doing great drama. I like gangster movies. I like great dramas, and we're all like avid movie fans. We just happen to love doing horror, and it is a good niche to get into in YouTube because we have our little small corner of YouTube horror. And I don't think there's as many of us as there are, like, say, the superhero crowd or the Star Wars crowd. So it's kind of a safe zone, and we just happen to love horror, so it kind of works out for us.
I will say, Lee, you and Cody have really helped me with the horror movie genre because I haven't done a lot of that in my life. And some of the best theological analyses that I've done has been movies you and Cody have suggested to me to take a look at.
Awesome.
I agree.
Awesome.
I
yeah,
agree.
it's a genre that a lot of people don't really give a chance because, it looks very superficial, horror does. But if you dig deep, there's some really great gems in there. A lot of stuff that'll get you thinking at the end of it, too. So, horror pushes boundaries, and that's what I love about it.
When you get horror at its best, it really does deal with the more primal elements of humanity and a lot more of the deeper spiritual elements of humanity that you're just not going to get in comic book movies and rom-coms and all that kind of crap. So, yeah, it's definitely when it's at its best, horror is, something to behold. So, yeah,
absolutely.
Today we're going to be talking about the Alien franchise, and before I get into this, though, I like to dig into like what's going on over the last week because sometimes it's good to get some stuff out that I don't really have time to make a video about because I literally thought about making a video about this subject. I recently reviewed the movie Lords of Chaos, and it covers the subject of black metal. It's a true story about this black metal band Mayhem, and the black metal fan base, I never realized how passionate they were. I mean, horror fans are passionate, metalheads are passionate, but I mean, black metal, if you get anything wrong with any little detail, they get really upset about it, apparently, because that's kind of what happened with mine. I don't have time to go into the whole history of black metal and do like, you know, a 3-day scrub. I watch the movie and then I review the movie that I saw. I do a little bit of research behind the scenes. But you would think that I don't want to get rude here, but these are passionate fans and I really respect that. And you can read through
that rude?
You can read through the comments and you'll see some pretty nasty stuff being thrown at me. And I was warned by Emma from Spooky Astronaut. She says, just beware. When you put out this review, you are going to get some huge backlash because there are two sides of this story. And the one side that served time is out of jail now. And he has an active YouTube channel. And he has his fans. And I think that's the big reason why his fans are so passionate to reach out and just lash at anybody that reviews this movie because they think that we know everything about the case when we don't. You know, I don't look at, I mean, first, here's my question I want to pose to you guys, and I'll start with my guest, Durban. When you're looking at a biopic, how important is that biopic to be 100% accurate? Does that matter to you much, or are you looking at more as entertainment? Yeah, go ahead.
That's hard. I mean, that's hard because, like, you know, I go to the movies to be entertained. So there are some biopics that I've liked in the past, but, like, I really do go to be entertained. But if you're telling somebody's story, tell me their story. Don't make up junk and throw it in there just for pure entertainment. Tell me their dang story. And I get it. You have to fast forward through things, maybe tell something a little bit different, whatever. But I don't like it when they bend the truth because it's Hollyweird and whatever it takes to, you know, I don't know, tell a compelling story, they make up crap. It's like, no, I don't like that. Just
well, here's the problem I think with this movie is only two people know the truth. These two people that were, and I know a lot of you guys haven't seen this movie, but the two people that were in the room at the end of this movie when the atrocity happened, one of them is not with us anymore. Those are the two people that know 100% the truth, what exactly happened. And so sometimes when you're doing a biopic, you have to work around that. And I really think the director was trying to be pretty respectful to the source material. I even watched some interviews with the director about this movie after, and he stated he was looking at this as this was a young group of kids. You know, if you look at it at face value, you're thinking these are pretty intense people. They got the makeup on and everything. You know, they're black metalheads. But if you dig behind the makeup and you look at them, these are like literally like 18-year-old kids, and they're making, you know, 18-year-old mistakes, and they're being really stupid. So he tried to get down to more of a personal level with what went on between, you know, these characters. And I found the movie itself pretty damn riveting, actually. These were, I hate to, for lack of a better word, stupid characters. And, you know, a horrible thing happened because out of passion at the end of the movie. So that's the way I looked at it. And I didn't, when I go into like a biopic, I do not expect to get 100% the truth. But like Durban said, I don't want them to take an aspect of it and completely flip it and give you the opposite of what happened. No, you got to be respectful there. But as far as like I mean, you could take the Queen biopic, Bohemian Rhapsody, and just to throw this one at you, Cody. I know Cody liked Queen, but even he will admit they probably took some liberties. Any thoughts, Cody?
Yeah, I mean, from what I can tell, I like Queen. I've never been like a huge fan of it. I've actually become more of a fan of them since watching the movie. So that right there is going to be kind of where I'm going with it. When you do a biopic, you have to be entertaining. You have to be able to tell the story in a way that translates to film well. And hopefully you get people on board with the story, on board with, you know, the band, the singer, the whoever it's about. And that happened with Bohemian Rhapsody with me. On the other side of it, though, mostly what I see is they shifted the timeline around a lot. Like certain songs were created in certain eras that wasn't exactly the truth and everything. And they certainly shied away from all the darker stuff. I don't think they necessarily changed it or claimed that it didn't happen. They just kind of, you know, dipped their toe in it, and that was enough. And I don't think the movie they were trying to make would have translated well with that side of the storyline. There's another movie out there that'll probably be made, especially with the success that it had, that'll probably tell the darker side. But it depends, and I think it depends on how big of a fan you are, or how knowledgeable you are on whoever is the star of the biopic, on whether or not you're more on the entertainment side or more on the truth side. Like I kind of told this to CP, whenever they make a biopic on Metallica, I'll be the guy in the theater standing up every 5 minutes. That didn't happen in 85. That didn't happen in 90.
If they make one on Tool, I'll be free. I'm sure I'll be way too hard on it.
Exactly. So that's where the hard part is, you know, as a movie viewer, and you see this with Bohemian Rhapsody. It's a movie that won Oscars, but you have people that were very well versed in the story of Freddie Mercury that could not stand the movie. I have a friend of mine that I used to work with that said the movie was trash because they didn't go into this, and this. And I would never know what this, and this is because I wasn't really well versed in Freddie Mercury before seeing the movie. So,
yeah. And I saw both ends of the spectrum, even with Lords of Chaos. I mean, Lords of Chaos is not a movie that can be PG-13. It's impossible for that movie to be PG-13. So I'm glad that, I think that's one reason why I liked it, because it felt real. Like, as far as like violence goes in movies, this shook me more than most horror movies did. The way that scene played out in the very last act between Euronymous and Varg, the two characters, it was just the suspense of it, because it's not a quick death scene. It literally lasts for a good, at least I'd say it's a good 10-minute scene. And I didn't know the whole story of what happened when I was watching the scene, so that made it even more terrifying for me. Like, oh my, is he going to live? Is he going to die? Is he going to escape? So I have to give props to the director for creating a scene like that. I thought it was really impressive, actually. And like I said, I don't know anything about black metal's not really my thing. I even had people say, I mentioned like Tool and Metallica in the review, and I got blasted for that. How dare you call yourself a metalhead by mentioning Tool and Metallica? And I'm like, are you serious?
Right here, I responded to that guy. I get so sick of that. Like, just to go on a tangent, like, people hold titles so freaking sacred. They do the same thing with horror. Like, that movie is not a horror movie. Yes, it is. The same thing. You're not Metallica's not metal. They got metal in the name.
Metallica are one of the founders of like thrash metal. Are you kidding me?
That's
you tend to find that the people who say this stuff don't actually know the history in the area they're talking about. Like, I've been posting loads of stuff on Killer Flicks lately, my rankings of horror movies from each year, and the amount of times I get, that's not horror. That's not horror. It's like, dude, does your definition of horror go beyond anything beyond the 80s? It's like there was a whole, 7 or 8 decades before the 80s of like horror movie history, that defines and shapes what is and what isn't a horror movie. So yeah, I imagine it's the same with music. I don't know. I could never categorize music. I hear something, if I like it, that's it, I like it. But the whole, oh, that's metal, no, it's not quite metal, that's black metal. But is it black metal, or is it death metal? No, it's thrash metal. It gives a toss. It's like, it all feeds into each other. It's all, you have a long tradition of music that kind of, things change all the time. You get people now who say that a film like It Follows isn't horror. It's thriller, and it's like, are you smoking crack? Seriously?
Yeah.
It's just horror changes every year. Something, it keeps on, and it dips into things from previously in history and reshapes, and then it renews. Things come back, things disappear. It's just whatever. Like, to me,
I don't get too bound up on genre titles. To me, a good movie's a good movie. I prefer scary ones, I guess you could say, but I don't get bent out of shape if somebody calls a thriller a horror movie and vice versa. It's, at the end of the day, it's just a good movie. CP reviewed Lords of Chaos. Matter of fact, I have to give major credit to CP because I'd heard of the movie, but I didn't even think about.
CP pushed it on me because he's like, "Hey, being the way that you tend to handle trolls in your channel, I want you to review
you need to review this."
He was trying to throw me to the lions.
Yeah, that's what CP does. He just dangles you over. But CP, what were your general thoughts on this movie? And compare it to like Bohemian Rhapsody. Did you prefer it to Bohemian Rhapsody since they're both music biopics?
Well, first of all, I've never deleted more comments on a video than I have the Lords of Chaos video. I
leave them there. I pin them.
I think I've deleted 20. Well, just because they use words that might get me in trouble.
Yeah.
So I've deleted them. But I think it's, as far as Bohemian Rhapsody is concerned, I think it's the polar opposite. I think Bohemian Rhapsody is a soundtrack movie. If anything, it focuses more on the funness of. Don't do that with your face, Brian.
It's like the hits of a band's career, pretty much.
Yeah, and Lords of Chaos is I can't even tell you about any of the music from the band. It was a lot more about things that happened. But you mentioned the death scene at the end, Lee. I think there's 3 major death scenes that are treated rather raw and like you said, extended. There's no music in at least one of them, and it's just raw and it's just agonizing. Actually all of them. All these major death scenes are just raw. Is the only way I can put it. And then when you're like, it's interesting viewing it as a film, but then when you like find out that people actually died and things happen this way, I mean, there's visual proof of one of them. It you don't know how to feel, because it is presented in a sort of horror film type fashion. So it's a really difficult movie to wrap your head around as far as where the line is for entertainment.
And just to give a shout, there's a guy in the comments, Daniel Scaringillo. I know I butchered that last name, Daniel, but he mentions Lords of Chaos is a great film, but it's very untrue to the real story. And that's a respectful comment. So nothing against Daniel here, but I was getting like the worst version of those types of comments and you know what? Looking at the movie, it didn't really make Euronymous look like a saint. It didn't make him look like a good guy at all. As a matter of fact, he wasn't like technically a good guy until the very last scene of the movie. You know, he started trying to like back away and turning his life around. So
I think the story of the movie is, you run your mouth enough, it's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah, but I think the movie highlighted some events that did happen. It highlighted the lead singer, how crazy he was, how depressed he was. It highlighted his suicide. And then it enters the Varg character into the story. And a lot of the complaints I heard about Varg was the way he looked. Okay, I guess I'll give you a little bit of that. But, I mean, still, at the end of the day, the kid that played Varg, I think, tried to turn out a pretty respectful, because he was, at the beginning of the movie, the way Euronymous treated him, Euronymous was a major dick to this character. And
so you don't listen to Scorpions in that outfit, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think they tried to present anybody as the good guy / bad guy. I think the atrocity that happened at the end of the movie, the murder that happened, guess what? It did happen. The guy was okay. Maybe he wasn't stabbed 23 times. Maybe he was stabbed 15 times. We didn't get that right. We apologize.
But Lee, why don't you put a pin in this for now? We could probably
I will put it. Yeah, I know it gets pretty passionate. Sorry. Alien. Now we're going to talk about. I knew I shouldn't have went down this rabbit hole.
I'm here, right?
Yeah.
I know, right?
I'm like, we have a special guest and he knows nothing about what we're talking
about.
Yeah,
I know. You're right. I apologize. Durban, I love you. I apologize. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Alien franchise. It happens to be my second favorite franchise. So I tend to look at the movies a little bit slanted than everybody else. I crave any kind of alien. Anything alien that I can get, I crave it. So that's the way I am.
Wait. Second favorite behind what? Halloween?
Yes.
Ahead of Star Wars.
Yeah, it is slightly ahead of Star Wars. Now, and let me explain that.
Okay.
I think the Alien franchise, for me, has more great movies as far as like a percentage ratio than any other franchise. For me, there are 4 5 out of 5 movies for me. Alien, Aliens, Prometheus, and Alien Covenant. Now, I know that's a bold statement. I know some people don't like Alien Covenant. I happen to love that whole world that he tried to create with Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
You're in secure company here, Lee. That's not a very...
Okay, yeah. To me, to have 4 movies that are like my highest rating that I can give, that says something for a franchise. So, Durban, tell me your story about the Alien franchise and where you sit with it, your history, all that.
Well, I'm here because I have no slants on this franchise. I didn't grow up watching it all until Alien Covenant was about to come out. And then Cody Leach and I decided to go back and forth on our channels and review the entire Alien franchise. Cody Leach, who more grew up with it, and me, who was watching it all for the first time. So we had my perspective with his perspective in our reviews. So really, what was it, 2 years ago when Covenant came out? That was my first time ever going through this franchise and watching it. And so it's kind of interesting, you know, as Cody and I were talking, to kind of hear his perspective as one who really grew up with it, and then me who, like, has no nostalgia connected to it at all, and is kind of enjoying them through fresh eyes. And I kind of agree with you, Lee. Like, there's a good number of movies in this franchise that I really did like, but I think I definitely put, you know, the MCU and Star Wars and other things above it. But there's a lot of movies that I really did enjoy, and it's kind of interesting to watch, like Alien, full-on horror. You go to Aliens, James Cameron goes more military action.
Yep.
Alien 3, whatever that was, and so on and so forth, you know?
A disowned film, that's what that was.
Rightfully.
Yeah. Funny enough, Alien 3 was kind of my entrance into the franchise. I saw Aliens. I didn't see it in a theater, but I remember it coming to HBO, and I watched it, and I thought I was only like, it was okay. That's what I thought about it when I first saw it. This was back in '87 when it first came to HBO. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so fast forward, Alien 3 came out, and my wife was actually an Alien fan, and so she's like, "Oh, you don't like the Alien franchise?" And so we rented Alien and Aliens and watched those again. I don't think I even saw the first Alien up to this point. And Alien 3 is really what got me into the franchise, actually. And I liked Alien 3, and I was kind of like Durban at the time. I didn't really... Plus, the internet wasn't around at this time, so people weren't freaking out about Alien 3 like they are now. And I really dug it. I liked the look of the movie. I liked
They weren't
everything.
there to influence your opinion.
Yeah, exactly. The internet constantly influences my opinion now. But CP, what is your history with the Alien franchise?
I didn't see Aliens. I saw Alien as a kid because I've told this story many times. My uncles watched a lot of horror, and Alien was in that rotation. And so I saw Alien a couple times, way before any kid should. And I was quite familiar with Alien, never saw Aliens, and managed to get one of my uncles to take me to see Alien 3 in the theaters. So I saw Alien 3 before Aliens, and I thought Alien 3 was great. On the heels of Alien, and then going back and growing up and realizing that, you know, that it was a little premature decision or an opinion, and finally saw Aliens, and that was great. And never got around to Resurrection until after Requiem.
Oh wow.
AVP Requiem, and then went back and saw that. I think when the box set came out, I actually was like, oh, I don't think I've ever seen this, and watched it, and I was like, for good reason.
Beautiful box set, by the way.
Oh, yep. It's still in Denmark. But yeah, I never. What was that, Brian?
Super chat.
Oh, believe in the hype. Thank you very much. He's saying, not saying it's the best, but Alien Resurrection is the most entertaining in the franchise for me. Love the water scene. Yeah, I have a major problem with the end of that movie. We're going to get to Resurrection, but it's highly entertaining. I can't wait to talk about Resurrection.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to Resurrection too.
That's going to be I'll say this about Resurrection. It's a fun one to discuss.
Yeah.
It really is. Cody, give me your history with the Alien franchise, and how does it rank for you? I mean, not rank the movies, but like the franchise as a whole among other franchises.
My history, I grew up watching Aliens. Aliens was the one that, you know, my dad introduced me to a lot of my favorite movies of all time. I was, you know, kind of his canvas to paint a movie fan and a music fan on. So Aliens was always his favorite, and that was the one that he would always put in. I actually didn't see Alien until I was like maybe 12 or 13. So Aliens was the one I grew up with. I always really enjoyed Alien Resurrection, despite its flaws. We'll get into it, but when did that movie come out? Like 99? 90?
Resurrection?
Late 90s.
Yeah, late 90s.
Yeah, well, yeah, so I was like 8 or 9 years old. So that was one that I kind of grew up watching too. But it is one of my favorite franchises. I wouldn't say there's 4 or 5 out of 5s, but I definitely would say there's 2 5 out of 5s, and there's a lot of entertainment to be had, even despite some of the issues I have with some of the later movies. But it's up there for me. But yeah, Aliens was the one that I really grew up with, have a lot of nostalgia for, and will always kind of hold as the highest regard for the franchise is that second one.
I will say this about Aliens: it is one of the best action movies ever created.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we'll delve more into that. But yeah, I love what they did, not copying the first Alien, and James Cameron just making his own version of the story,
and still maintained themes the way the first.
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Aliens is it's a fantastic film.
Aliens is what you strive to make when you make a sequel.
Yeah. It really set the standard for what you should strive for as a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan, let's hear your thoughts.
So I watched Aliens first time around. It was around about 1989, I reckon. At that point, one of the best movies I'd ever seen. I was already a bit of a huge Terminator fan by that point. So James Cameron suddenly kind of became the filmmaker at that point. And then, went back, watched Alien, because there was so many references in Aliens. I was kind of like, I was so intrigued by the prospect of what I'd see in Alien because of what they talk about in Aliens. You know, just hearing, like, I was like those military guys in the sense that Sigourney Weaver's character Ripley is telling them what happened. Well, I didn't witness that. I'm only, everything I'm hearing for the first time, just like those military guys. So then when it all kicks off, it's like, what on earth? She was right. Boy, was she right.
Yeah.
So I had to go back, watch that first film, which was equally as great, but such a different film. So you got one that's like a slasher film in space, and another that's just an all-out war movie, but just also happens to be about motherhood. And then you get Alien 3, comes out on video, VHS. Obviously, I was too young to see it at the cinema. I was like, when it was at the cinema, I think I was 13, so it came out a year later on VHS. Me and a bunch of friends got it out. The same night we got Pulp Fiction and Evil Dead 3 out. We did a triple bill. Evil Dead 3, Pulp Fiction, and Alien 3.
That's not a bad night right there.
No, it's not.
Alien 3 was the last one, but it was the one I was most excited for, and it was the one that I was really brassed off about. So that obviously was the theatrical cut. Just mainly, I think for everyone, really, is just killing Hicks, killing Newt, right in the opening, not even seeing him.
That was the stupidest movie decision I've ever seen in my life. Of stupid. I mean, I saw Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, and that was the dumbest.
I'm gonna get raked across the coals when we get to Alien 3, but we'll wait. Yeah.
No. I think I'm right there with you, mate. To be honest, because over the years, I've come to accept it on its own terms, and seeing the assembly cut, I think it is a much better cut of the film.
Oh yeah.
Still far from perfect, but if I watch those first two now, I will quite happily watch the third one after. I like watching the trilogy. So when the new one was coming out, Alien Resurrection in '97, I went to the cinema, and I was at college at that point, and I kind of dragged a few of the people that I was in college with there, because I was like, we got to go and see this. This is a new Alien movie, and like you, Cody, like you, Lee, it is one of my favorite franchises.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, in the super chat, saying Dark Horse, Alien Salvation. Thoughts? We will get to that in just a moment. Saw Alien Resurrection, and I loved it. But I got to say, of all the Alien movies, including AVP 1 and 2, this is the one that has taken the biggest nosedive for me over the years. AVP 1 and 2, we won't go into them, but Prometheus, loved it first time, didn't like it second time, loved it third time, and I watched it for the fourth time just today, and I loved it again. I'm firmly on board with it now. And Covenant, well, I absolutely love Covenant. Really love it.
And that's a good segue, because we're going to do these in reverse order. We're going to release order. We're not going to talk about AVP series. We're just going to focus
I love AVP. Okay.
How dare you? No, we're just going to focus on the Alien franchise as a whole. We're going to start with Covenant. And the thing that's interesting about Covenant...
Lee,
Yep.
Lee, just before you move on, mate, just touch on once again Daniel's.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Daniel.
Yeah.
Alien Salvation. Now, guys, I can't really give my thoughts on that because I don't really know anything about. I don't know if that's a game or what. Anybody?
It's a comic
It says
book.
Dark Horse, so I think that's the comic.
Oh, okay. It must be a comic. I haven't really delved
Which
into the
I've
comics
not
that
read.
much.
But I did
Never read
hear
it.
rumors that they were trying to make a sequel to Covenant, and Salvation would be its name. But yeah, that's about the extent of my.
Oh, is that the Blomkamp movie? Maybe.
I don't know.
No.
I-
That's
Daniel, just elaborate, and then we'll get back to it. Send us a comment saying what Alien Salvation is, and we'll get back to it because none of us know.
yeah.
I just know rumors.
And
Given that none of us know, Daniel, if you do get back to us, there's very little chance we are actually going to be able to say anything about it, though. So.
And I
Comic.
called
He
this.
says it's a comic.
I called this "What is the future?" and we could probably touch on the future of the franchise after we're all done with everything here. But
Yeah.
we'll start with Covenant, and I think even before Covenant came out, I knew that this was a movie that was. I didn't think it was going to be successful, and I think the reason being is because what Ridley Scott created with Prometheus. He kind of divided the fans. There are fans of just that xenomorph slasher action. And then there are other fans that want, they've seen enough of the xenomorph stuff. They want to know more about the engineers and how that all came to be. I was one of those people. So I think you divided your fan base, some of your fan base, when they came up with Prometheus. So Prometheus comes out, as I suspected, divided the fans. So when Covenant came out, I was like, there's no way that this is going to be successful because there are people that are not going to be satisfied. You can't satisfy everybody with this world. For me, I loved that they wanted to kind of split it down the middle and show you how the xenomorph was actually created. And I think you get yourself into trouble there when you try to explain how the devil is created. Because no matter what you do, there's people who are going to have a problem with it. And I love that they explored David and what happened 10 years after the events of Prometheus, and how he was obsessed with creation and getting rid of mankind. Now, I'll start with Cody. As far what did you expect going into Covenant? What would have made you happy as a fan?
What they advertised. An alien movie. I mean, they yes, Prometheus, I don't hate Prometheus. I don't even hate Alien Covenant. They're very good, well-made movies. They're just different. And for me, for what I want the story to be, which might not be fair to judge what Ridley Scott wants the story to be against what I do, but what I want the story to be, Prometheus and Alien Covenant just don't really fit into this franchise for what I want. I don't really.
There you go.
First of all, I'm not really a big prequel guy, so I don't really like answers to questions that I'm not asking. And especially when the answer they give is kind of like, oh, that's okay, whatever. When I got into Alien Covenant, especially whenever they started talking about it, they said they were going to go more in the direction of Alien because of people's backlash against what he did with Prometheus. When they advertised, and there's not a single trailer that they released for that movie that showed anything Prometheus aside from Michael Fassbender being in it. It was all Alien. It was all landing on a planet, xenomorphs, different things. And that's what I wanted. That's what a lot of people wanted. That's why the second week drop off went like this, because the word got out what the movie was. And I watched it Friday night for the first time since seeing it in theaters. And I will say it's a much easier movie to watch when you know what you're getting. Yeah. When I watched it and I kind of knew exactly what he was going to be giving me, kind of Prometheus with alien stuff kind of thrown in. It's a good movie. It's well made. It's gorgeous. There are some really good gore effects. I like some of the creature effects, although I do long for more I long for more the practical effects versus the CG stuff. But the alien stuff still feels very thrown in. It feels like that's the studio tapping him on the shoulder saying, throw a xenomorph in there. Because you get to the third act and that side of the movie feels the most uninspired. When you get to the Prometheus stuff, that's where you really feel like Ridley Scott is saying the story he wants to tell, and he's diving more into the themes and the characters and everything that he really wants to tell. And it's still, even when I watch Prometheus and Alien Covenant, it feels like it should have been Ridley Scott doing a sci-fi franchise that doesn't really belong in Alien, for what I want Alien to be.
Yeah. For me, it was a gradual thing. I felt like they eased the xenomorph in there quite well, and they prefaced it with David explaining to one of the crew members, hey, this is pretty much how I came up with the xenomorph, and then he takes him by the hand and takes him over to the the chest bursters, and So for me, it felt like a gradual thing. I didn't have a problem with it. It was what I wanted, because I was like, okay, they're giving me all this great Prometheus stuff. Now I'm ready for my xenomorph stuff. They've set everything up for me, and I was happy with what happened with the xenomorph.
And I think that hinges very much on whether or not you were a huge fan of Prometheus or not. Because if you loved what they did in Prometheus, which you did, which I'm sure Bryan did, which Durban did, which a lot of fans did, if you loved what they did in Prometheus and you get to Alien Covenant, you don't want them to abandon Prometheus. You don't want them to say, okay, fine, we'll do another Alien film. Because that, like you said, that would divide that side of the fan base. But if you're somebody that, like me, Prometheus is cool, it's interesting, gorgeous, but it's just not 100% fitting into what the franchise is to me. When you get to Alien Covenant and they're still kind of shoving that in there, it's not quite what I wanted.
Oh, Prometheus, I'm sure pissed a lot of people off. We'll get to Prometheus.
First Alien movie I ever saw, though. That was my first introduction to this franchise. So,
was that the first movie you saw, Durban? Was Prometheus out of the franchise?
Yeah, I forgot to tell you that in the introduction, but long before I did this stuff with Cody Leach, I didn't know Prometheus was an Alien prequel, but I saw the trailers and I thought it looked interesting. And
that is so interesting.
So I watched it, and so, I mean, me, with my theological analyses and all that stuff that I love to do.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff like that.
Oh, my God. I was enthralled. Like, when it got towards, like, the end and stuff, and I was like, whatever. But, like, digging into the engineers and where did we come from? And then David, like, disappointed with his creator. And then David looking at a human who created him, and that human is disappointed that his creators are dead. And so it's like, digging into all of that with the synthetic there, with the people there, and trying to figure out who made the people, that whole element of that movie was fascinating, which is why, like, I get what Cody's saying. Covenant totally sold us on the alien aspect. But what they didn't show us was what a bridge it was between Prometheus and the alien aspect. They would have done better to show that in their marketing, at least a little bit more. But for me, who loved Prometheus, when I say loved, I mean, I really liked it. I loved how they built that bridge between Prometheus and Covenant, and I thought it was so well done, and those gory scenes were brilliant. So it was awesome to have the philosophy, the creators, David having this God complex. I am more superior than man, so let me create my own version of life in my image and in my likeness to prove to you I myself am looking through all of that, him destroying the creator of man. Like, it was fascinating.
Yeah, you want interesting characters and you want interesting themes, and to come out after, Resurrection, what Ridley Scott gave us with Prometheus was like, oh, you want lore, you want to go back, dig deep, guys? Okay, here you go. I'm going to give you all this. I mean, we're going to talk about creationism. We're going to give you a little bit more of the android backstory, and I mean the engineers. I've been asking about engineers for 30 years. I've always wanted to know more about that engineer that we saw in that ship chair, and I think Prometheus gave us that, but it gave us more, and it was everything.
Well, I'm mad that I still have questions. Like, why are they so ticked off at us? I want to know that. Why did they out? Give me that answer.
Yeah, and maybe we'll get that in a third movie if that ever happens, which it might not.
No, hang on. Sorry, you broke up then a bit. Was that why are they so ticked off at us?
Yeah, why are they pissed? Why do they want to take us out?
They're not. See, this is the thing. Like, people always say about Covenant, it really brassed them off that they didn't get. Let CP speak, because he's been dying to.
Yeah, sorry. It's just a super chat. Believe in the hype.
Put a pin in it. I'll come back to that.
No, I'm just going to read off this thing. It's a question. Would you like to see Arnold go against an alien?
Yes.
Thank you. Believe in the hype.
Not in his current state. No.
No, I can see Arnold in his current state. He's Arnold, man. He can do it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I think we've dove enough into the bridging of the Predator and the Alien franchise.
I think we're done with that.
I don't think that would fare well. Ask me in the early '90s, sure.
And if I could put a wedge into that whole AVP thing right here, to me, the Alien franchise I hold it much higher than the Predator franchise. And when you put those two together, I think that was always a problem for me. Like,
lowers the tone a bit, doesn't it?
It's like putting Friday the 13th with Citizen Kane. It's just.
All right.
I might have overreached a little.
That's quite
bit.
a thing. Wow.
Yeah, quite a leap.
So going back to my point, right? everyone, like, one of the criticisms of Covenant that I hear a lot is that I wanted answers. You know, Prometheus raised all these questions. I wanted answers. For me, the questions that were raised in Prometheus were always answered in Prometheus. You know, you ask, why were the engineers so ticked off at us? They weren't ticked off at us. They just didn't give a toss. We were like ants.
Yeah.
We were like ants. It was just like it's like an ant. That say if we created an ant coming to us, crawling around our foot, and we just stamp on it. It's nothing to us.
Oh, we did.
They follow that theme through with the synthetics, because the synthetics had the same thing. Like, why'd you create us? I don't know, because I could.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all in there in the film. So to me, the answers to those questions were given them in Prometheus. So there's nowhere else to go.
That's
so when
a really good point.
When we go to the engineers' homeworld, if it even indeed is their homeworld, which it probably isn't, but when they go there, like, people wanted, what did they want? You know, it's like they wanted these answers to questions that were no longer needing answers in my mind. So where they went with it in Covenant, to me, was the best place to go, which is actually, let's take it to where David is sitting as the person who in Prometheus was literally told, you don't have a soul, you're nothing to us. We created you, but you're nothing to us. Well, he's now in that mindset, well, if I'm nothing to you, I need to become something else, my own thing, my own God. You know, I will become God. I will become like God. I will be better than my creators, which is essentially what he spends Covenant proving. So to me, it was just, yeah, like I say, those were never questions I had in Prometheus, because I felt like I got the answers I needed in Prometheus.
And Bryan, to that point right there, that's exactly where my frustration with Prometheus and Covenant comes from, is all the answers that they try to give me as questions I never asked from Alien.
And then from my perspective, because I started with Prometheus and I didn't have, you know, the nostalgia of watching Alien first and that whole franchise first, I loved those questions. But again, that's because of my perspective. That's because of how I entered this series. So for me, it's just a little bit different, since Prometheus was indeed the first film that I saw, but it was fascinating, and I loved watching David go through his God complex. And really, it's an inferiority complex. You tell me I have no soul, and I'm disappointed because you're my creator, I'm going to destroy yours.
The thing is, as well, it's like, if you... one of the reasons I love Prometheus and Covenant is because it does turn Alien back into thinking person sci-fi. And what we got with Alien Resurrection in particular was what I feel like we would have ended up with here if Ridley Scott hadn't have built this law, hadn't have said, right, let's go into something. Because that's all you're left with. When you don't come up with a story that has deep themes and goes places that we've never been before, all you're left with is to rehash either Alien or Aliens. So we go somewhere with a crew who are started by one alien, or we go somewhere with a heavily fortified crew who are up against a ton of aliens. We've seen that. I don't want to see it again. And if we do see it again, you can guarantee it'll be of a lesser quality to those original two movies. So what's the point? There's no point.
And just to bounce off what Cody said, because Cody, I think, made a good point. He fit into a certain demographic there. There are certain fans that they didn't want to know this or that. And then there were fans like me that I'm so obsessed with this world of Alien and this lore that you could never give me enough. I think that's where that's why I go into every movie, you know, just, you know, doing this with my hands, saying, well, okay, what are you going to give me now? What are you going to give me now? You know, I want to know every little bit about it. And I think that's what Prometheus did, what Bryan was talking about, how a lot of fans were saying they didn't answer all the questions. I like the approach they took to be a little bit ambiguous about things and not tell you point blank, this is why this happened, but to make you actually use your brain a little bit and maybe come up with your own theories about things. That's what I loved about Prometheus. CP, any thoughts on Covenant?
Well, I think the questions that Prometheus leaves, they do a good job of just kind of kicking you in the teeth. When David wipes out all the engineers, it's just like, yeah, it was a big deal, but he nuked them. Now what? Now focus on this. But yeah, it's more of the same that I would just be piggybacking both Durban and Bryan.
Yeah.
Wonderfully made film. Gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
To say the very least.
And the musical score. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was thinking that yesterday when I was watching it. It's like, oh, this is the first movie since the first that gave us a lot of that Goldsmith score. And it worked perfectly for, and they had a little bit of the Prometheus score in there too from time to time. So
that stretch during the med bay scene is
oh yes,
awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah. Technically, I would never dispute that. Technically, Prometheus and Alien Covenant are gorgeously, flawlessly made films as far as the technical aspects go. It's just some of the story stuff that is just stuff I don't want necessarily.
Yeah.
I could still watch it and be entertained, but I'm more of a that's my pessimism towards prequels. I prefer kind of unanswered questions versus giving me answers that I don't like.
Yeah. Well, it depends on me for like the franchise. Like Star Wars, I don't need how Vader became Vader. I don't need that prequel trilogy at all. I'm happy he's a villain, and I'm happy to know there's a backstory and that maybe he wasn't always a villain, but that's the extent of it. Wolverine, I didn't need his prequel, man. It's cool that he has no memory. But then there's these other things like Alien where it's like it just invites that philosophy to me, and I agree. So where are you going to go from Alien Resurrection? Let's go backwards and let's build lore. And I love good lore. And I was so excited, in Covenant when they got a little bit deeper in that lore and then dealt with David and his God complex. And then they combined it with the action and the gore that we love. I don't know. I like Covenant a lot. That was my number one in my ranking.
And that's all. I find that so interesting, actually. Just because you're new to, and I wonder if like anybody else that's new, like there was somebody in Killer Flicks yesterday that said he's never watched an Alien movie, and I was like, God, I envy you to be able to go in these movies. And in what order should you watch them? If you've never seen any of the movies, should you go?
I
from
like the release order. I wish I hadn't seen Prometheus until after I had seen like the release order, but I saw Prometheus first, which did give me kind of an interesting perspective on it, but. Man, it is cool, like, as a grown-up, to go in cold and not have any of that attachment and nostalgia and form my own thoughts, my own frame around it. It was really cool to dig into it fresh as a grown-up.
I'm always nervous when I give Durban a movie that I love and I hold dear. I'm like, watch this and do a theological analysis. And sometimes you'll get Pet Sematary where he loves it and it terrifies him and he has these awesome thoughts. And then sometimes you have Halloween 3 where he messages me mid-film. He's like, what is this? I'm like...
My son's favorite movie is actually Prometheus, or one like in his top 3 movies of all time is Prometheus. And he had seen the Alien movies before Prometheus, but he was, I guess he was one of those fans that was just wanted to know so much more. And he thinks Prometheus is just like perfection.
I think a really good thing that Covenant does too is human emotion and how it affects decision making. That's done a couple of times throughout the film.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that people pick apart about Covenant is like, there's no way that she would go into that bay but when the shit is hitting the fan and you have like something happening to one of these characters that you've never witnessed in life, how are you going to react? People are human at the end of the day and they're going to make mistakes. And I hate this philosophy that people have where when they watch movies, everybody has to be perfect and they have to make the perfect decisions at the perfect times. That's not life. I made 3 mistakes this morning.
Acknowledge as well that people have made stupid ass decisions in both Alien and Aliens.
Sure.
Oh yeah. One of the biggest ones is they never listened to Ripley. The smartest person in this whole franchise. The thing is, they point blank ignore her.
John Hurt's character, he goes down. He looks at this. He's in like a whole field of these eggs.
Yeah.
One of them opens up just as he gets there. So
Let me put my face.
He looks right in there.
Exactly. I'm sorry, but I'd be out of there in a shot.
Yeah, and that's what they did in Covenant when the guy came and he looked over. Hey, at least he had David, kind of taking him by the hand and saying, "Hey, it won't hurt you. Yeah, take a look in there. You're gonna love this. This is amazing. We are curious."
Criticism?
Oh, it is. I've heard people say that they don't.
I've heard that. That's been a major criticism of Covenant, is that guy was so stupid for going near that egg.
Yeah, but what do they know? They don't know.
They don't know anything.
That guy wasn't the smartest in the beginning. They've kind of painted him that way from the opening scene, where nobody gives a shit what he says because he's not a respected member of the crew because he's a moron. So that's not really a valid criticism.
And that's his biggest problem. He has no spine. And then at the beginning of the movie, where he tries to take his stand and have a spine after James Franco has his death scene before his first ever line in the film, and he tries to take his stand and be like, don't mourn for him. We have a job to do. It's like, okay, well, that's a dumb line for you to draw. You want respect, but the first line you're drawing in the sand is the stupidest line you could draw. And it's just, but it's also realistic because that's people and that's people's insecurity. And he's sitting there carrying his insecurities into his decision making, which feeds all the way back to him listening to David and looking in that stupid egg.
It's the same. It's the same in any kind of social constructed, like college, school, workplace, military, whatever. You get a team of people together. They're never going to be completely in the same mindset as each other. They're all going to have their insecurities. They're all going to find things where they think maybe deep down one of the other members is better at something than they are, so that shapes the way they act around them and things like that. So to say, oh, these characters make stupid decisions. Well, yeah, because their adrenaline's right up and they're in a real scary ass situation. One of the things about Prometheus as well, one of the criticisms I hear about that is the choice of team that they take. And I'll say this, that in answer to the criticism of that, each member of that team, except Shaw and her fella, have been basically told, look, we'll give you a shed load of money, you got to come out on a mission with us. And we're not telling you what it is until we're out there. And we see that play out in the scene. You know, none of them know what they're doing there. They get told that. So that guy who everyone always criticizes, the geologist guy, he's a crap character. Why did they take him out there? Because he's the only one who would go into the middle of space, half a galaxy away, for the money that they were offering. That's the way I look at it. It's like you got to take the best, you know, the best of the bunch who are willing.
Yeah, that alone is a pretty risky proposition. So, and he is a geologist. He is curious about, you know, biology and these, you know, he wants to get down there and take Steve Irwin. Steve Irwin was a great example. This is a guy who would put his head in a freaking alligator's mouth. Some people are like that, you know. Yeah, that's just his speciality. He's into that type of stuff. Some people will hold snakes for 3 hours and not even think twice about it. You know, so don't be so hard on characters in movies if these characters are built up in a certain way, if they have a certain profession. We got a super.
Probably wasn't the first choice. That's the thing. He probably wasn't the first choice, but they went to the first choice and said, "Hey, we'll give you X amount of money if you come out into the middle of space with us." Oh, what's it for? We can't tell you until you're there. No, thanks. Moving on to the next one, and then they end up with that guy. So that really is a criticism. It's complete nonsense.
Super chat, CJ Kidd. Are Alien, Predator, and Terminator are to sci-fi what Freddy, Jason, and Michael? That's actually a pretty good way to put it. I kind of agree with you there.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good comment, actually.
I don't think they're
sci-fi thriller, sure.
I don't think their mountain is as high as Freddy, Jason, and Michael is in the horror universe, but they're certainly, like, as far as the big franchises.
If we're doing sci-fi Mount Rushmore, Star Wars isn't going to be ahead of one of those.
That's what I'm saying. It's
But Star Wars doesn't dip its toe into horror.
The horror aspect to sci-fi in a very unique way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe sci-fi horror. Sci-fi horror, yes.
Yes. All right. Yeah.
Do we want to jump into Prometheus, even though we talked about it quite a bit?
I think we've covered it.
Yeah, I think we covered it too.
I feel like it. Yeah. I mean, Covenant and Prometheus just so roll right off each other.
Yeah, you can't talk about Covenant without talking about Prometheus. So.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll jump over into Resurrection now, which is I guess I'll start with Resurrection. It does some things, I mean, so freaking perfectly. It looks beautiful. The aliens, the xenomorphs look like we want, amazing.
No.
Hold on. That first third of the movie, they had Michael Wincott as your I guess he's the leader of that group, and I am such a fan of Michael Wincott. He's one of those underused actors that I'm like, give me more of him, please. So when I first saw this movie, he when I saw Michael Wincott, I was like, oh my God, please have him through the end of the movie, have him fighting aliens at the end of the movie. Boom, let's go ahead and kill him in the first third of the movie.
Yeah, never mind that. Look at the cast listing. If you showed somebody the cast listing that hasn't seen the movie, like their hopes would be so high for that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember seeing the trailer for it and just thinking this could be like one of the best alien movies. So, Cody, give me your thoughts.
Resurrection is flawed as hell, but I enjoy the hell out of it.
I can't disagree with that.
It doesn't hurt that I grew up with it. Like I said, I was either 8 or 9 years old. I don't know the year it came out, but in the late 90s, I was born in 1990, so I was young when I saw it. The movie is a fun movie to watch. It's, it's Joss Whedon had his hand in the script at some point. How much of that actually translated to screen is debatable, but the whole like group dynamic feels Whedonish to me. Yep. And the cast and everything like that. I like that group of characters. I like the different version of Ripley we get in this. Like Bryan, I watched his top 5 trilogies video, and he was arguing pretty strong that it's not the same character in 4. It's a clone, so it's, for all intents and purposes, a totally different person. But I kind of like that. I kind of like the more sexually drived, darker character that Sigourney Weaver got to play, and how she had the alien xenomorph kind of powers to her to a degree. I thought the creature effects and the gore effects and everything like that are pretty good in it. There's some really great sequences, like the underwater stuff that is really tense. But there's really stupid shit in the movie. There's some really dumb character stuff. There's some really bad dialogue. The entire, last 15 minutes is pretty rough at best. The whole hybrid alien thing. Wow. It's memorable.
That whole hybrid alien thing gives me the weirdest feelings ever.
It's very strange. And it has to do with, it's the sexualization of it. Because even when she's kind of like embracing it, it's like, it's not like a motherhood type of thing. It's like it's a lover type thing. It's weird. So yeah, the movie's not perfect. Anybody that says they hate it for reasons A, B, and C, I really cannot argue it. But I enjoy the hell out of it every time I watch it.
Well, the xenomorph is a human alien hybrid, so we didn't really need, and it looked perfect. So to go in that extra mile and give us a more human looking, it just was freaky looking, and I don't think it was just too much. And for that to be our the big thing, the big finale of the movie, and the second it steps onto screen, you're just like, I feel like I want to go to the bathroom right now. It's just yeah. Durban, give me your thoughts on do you like Resurrection, or is it
I do. I think it's a fun B movie, and you kind of have to treat it like that, because for me, my big issues are the beginning and the end. And what was hard for me about the beginning was, Alien 3, she's dead, the alien enters dead. Where on this freaking green Earth did they get her DNA? And I think there's probably a quick throwaway line in there, whatever. They get it, and they clone her. And then they managed to even clone the thing inside of her. And so it's like, you know what? I know what I have to do. I just have to accept it and move on. Because all they're trying to do is build a bridge from the Disowned movie into this movie. And what they really want is for us just to get into this movie. So once I kind of put on that hat and that mindset, I was able to enjoy it and have a lot of fun with it. I loved Winona Ryder as the synthetic, because I just feel like the synthetics are some of the most interesting parts of the Alien franchise. And Winona Ryder being a synthetic who had moments where she would pray and other things like that, it's like, this is fascinating. And so I found her to be an interesting character as well. And then again, the ending is just so uncomfortable. And I understand there's movies that try to bring you to a point where you feel uncomfortable, but this was a different level of uncomfortable, of like, what on earth? And then it sounds like it's screaming mama as it's being sucked out the window airlock for the 4th time.
I think Hereditary did that right, making you feel uncomfortable but still accepting of what you're watching. Hereditary did that perfect. I
didn't see that, but I'm going to assume you're right.
Yeah, well, it's just like you said, Durban. This is a fun popcorn type of movie, so don't give me that crazy, weird, it didn't play well. Finish off the movie fun and popcorny. That's what they should have done.
And that's what's so weird about it, because it's like that weird tone of that ending did not fit the tone of the movie. You said it right. The movie is a fun popcorn movie. It's a fun B movie. And if you let that be your expectations with it, then there's no reason you can't have fun with it. But then they throw in that weird alien human baby thing, and it's like, never mind. All right, you had me, but now I'm gone again.
Yeah, now I'm gone. CP, give me your thoughts on Resurrection.
Brian's chomping at the bit. I've seen Resurrection.
I see the pain in his face.
Brian.
I watched it for only the second time last year, and I'm just not fond of it. But go ahead, Brian.
Whenever we have an opinion,
Lee, did you do that on purpose?
What'd I do?
You know what you did.
You talking about the AVP comment?
No, I'm talking about leaving me till last year.
Oh yeah, I did do that on purpose.
When we're talking about something that Bryan is like getting pissed and pissed and pissed, and when we talk about it, it's like the chest burster scene. There's anger ready to blow out. Go ahead.
Oh,
I watched the first 4 Alien films. Well, I watched the first 5, if you count Prometheus as the 5th one, over the past 2 days. And honestly, Alien Resurrection, way back in '97 when it came out, to me, I would have said, yeah, it's really good, great Alien film. It's not. It is terrible. It is bloody terrible. It's absolutely horrible. Here's the problem, right? What you've got is a really good, solid script by Joss Whedon, and what you've got is terrible direction by Junet. Now, this is a guy who can be a really great director, because Amelie is an absolute 5-star film for me. It's a brilliant film. He was not the right man to make an Alien film at this point. It is terrible. Some of the directorial choices he makes are awful. And you said, Lee, that you like the look of the aliens in this. I bloody hate them.
Really?
Hate them. Yeah, I'm sorry, but somebody left a tap on in their mouths, because it's just dripping, literally dripping.
I just thought that was right back to like Aliens, like, oh, they look like that from the first movie.
Yeah, you go to the first movie, yeah, there's a little bit of mucus coming out.
I mean, the first looks better, yeah, but still, it's still a xenomorph.
They're so shiny from the level of snot that they're covered in, and then the bit when it pushes the button on that soldier, and literally the head comes down over the button, and it's a tap. Somebody's left a tap on. I'm sorry, but this thing would be dehydrated, the amount of fluids that it's dripping out of.
Bryan, I'm glad you brought that up, because first off, I'll hit this super chat real quick. CJ Kid, thank you again. Would you guys ever consider doing a 28 on 28th and rank all the Alien, Predator, and Terminator films? Ooh.
Yes.
I like that, and if Durban wanted to jump in on that action, I would more than welcome it.
I would be totally in, and I haven't watched the Terminator movies in a long time, so that is a great excuse to go back through them.
CJ, remind me.
Is it 28 including the new Terminator?
Yeah, that's a good question, Cody.
Because there's a lot of stuff we can kind of time around this new Terminator movie coming out.
Yeah, let's table it until after the new one comes out, guys. What do you think? And then maybe a month after it comes out, we'll put out our 28 or whatever it is.
A week
I just
after.
Yeah, week after.
I just want to say that you would think that I paid CJ to say that, because in private, CJ, I've been saying we got to capitalize on the number thing. Capitalize on the number thing, and thank you for saying 28 and 28.
I love it.
We've already we've made plans to make plans for like the next 3 years. 31 and 31st variation. So,
like, I'm chomping at the bit to do it now. So to wait until the new Terminator comes out. Ugh. Do we want to Sean Chandler this shit?
do it twice.
I love you, Sean. I love you so much. Okay, he's going to be on the next one with us. Actually, we're going to be talking about Marvel stuff. But I had to do that. But Bryan, you brought up a good point about the xenomorph, and I didn't touch on this in Covenant, so I just want to talk about this for just a second. What did you guys think of an all CGI xenomorph in Covenant? Cody, I'll let you go first, real quick.
It didn't take me out of the movie necessarily, but I had said I really prefer practical effects on a xenomorph. The CGI does not look anywhere near as good.
It looks better than the non-CGI looking CGI from Alien 3.
Oh,
yeah.
My.
I think it had its moments. I think there were times where I was like, "Oh, that looks awesome," the way it looks right there. And then there were sometimes I'm like, a little bit too much CGI there.
The moments it looks good is like the shower scene when you just see the tail and then you see him behind the fog glass, like when it's kind of obscured. When it's full on, like right there in front of you, it stands out.
Yeah. In 4K, the med base scene is noticeable, to be polite.
Yes.
I haven't watched it in 4K, so now I'm kind of glad I'm down on the Blu-ray level.
It's the same in 1080p. I watched it on Amazon Prime. It's exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little too cartoony.
Yeah. Durban, any thoughts? Quick thoughts?
Well, I mean, the 1979 Alien is so utterly impressive looking. Like, it holds up to modern CGI, modern puppeteering. It even excels.
That's called editing.
Modern CGI. So I can't help it. It's incredibly good, and I'm always going to go with the practical-based Alien because of how good it looked in even 79.
Overcoming restriction too. Jaws, much better film because they had to work with their restrictions. You'd be surprised not having
look at the Thing and the recent The Thing. It's like that more modern version, the prequel, is actually a really solid film. But
yes,
the
it is.
Effects, and I hear that they actually made it with practical effects, and then
they covered it.
And ridiculous.
I've been planning on reviewing the prequel for so long, because I actually like it. I do like the Thing prequel. I think they got a little bit too crazy with the CGI, and it's a shame that they didn't use. But my question is, maybe they didn't use those practical effects scenes because maybe they didn't come out right. Because there are bad practical effects out there.
You can find videos of them on YouTube, like production videos. They looked damn good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's where lighting comes into and all that. But
if you ask me, they got scared. They thought modern audiences probably wouldn't handle the practical stuff like that the way they used to, and they didn't respect the horror audience because the horror audience loves practical stuff.
Yep.
I love how that movie ties right up with. I mean, it treats the first movie like a crime scene almost, you know, from a forensic standpoint, and just says, "Let's explain this," and let's explain this, and it does it perfectly. I think people razz on it way too hard.
CGI should complement.
You swap out those CG effects in the Thing prequel for the original effects that they had, assuming that they turned out as well as the videos that I've seen. That's like a 4-star movie.
Yeah, I agree with Cody.
You leave the CGI in, it's like 2.5, 3 at best.
Yeah. CGI should complement practical effects, not be in place of.
That's such an important.
Park, the original 1993 Jurassic Park is the perfect example of what you said, because the CGI and the practical effects of that movie and the way they intertwine holds up better than most movies now.
Force Awakens did it pretty well. But I agree with you. $10. Believe in the hype. Thank you. This might be the wrong Scream, but the hell with it. You guys, do you think they're afraid to kill off Jamie Lee for good because she's in the best movies other than Resurrection? Oh, Halloween Resurrection. And the movies she's in made the most money.
I want her dead now. There's your answer for that. I'm done with Jamie Lee Curtis. I love her to death. God bless her. But I am so done with that character. I want her gone. I wanted Jamie Lloyd in there like two movies ago. So, yeah, I'm so done with Jamie Lee Curtis. God bless her. She did a great job. But, yeah, let's move on. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you guys agree with me.
I echo that.
That's not the reason why they're afraid to kill off Jamie Lee. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I think she's poking her head in, and I want a little bit more of that action, and we're just like, we don't really need any more of that action. And if you do, that's great, but there's nowhere else to go with her character for me.
There was nowhere else to go with her halfway through Halloween 2018.
Yeah. So, I mean, she wasn't the big reason why I was excited for Halloween 2018, so. Yeah, good question, though. Believe in the hype. Thank you very much. Let's move on to a hot topic here. Alien 3. Here we go. Oh my God. I'm gonna let CP start with this one. CP,
yo,
you can talk about the theatrical. You can talk about. Just tell me what you think about Alien 3. What it gets right. Just give me your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think because I've watched.
Moving on.
You pretty much just
No, it's I think because I've watched whatever the Blu-ray special edition edit is most recently. Yeah, I don't find it as bad as I remember it being. But there's stuff there. It's just a little sloppy.
I will say, as far as like the documentaries go, like if you get that Alien box set with those are some of the best put together documentaries I've ever seen for films, and they go through everyone. The Alien 3 one is so watchable. Like I've watched the Alien 3 one more than any of the other ones, just because they really dive deep into what happened behind the scenes and how David Fincher just pretty much washed his hands of the whole thing, even though he did give his blessing for the assembly cut. It's not 100% his vision, but he said that's pretty damn close. So
I mean, right off the bat,
that documentary sounds more interesting.
Oh, it's so good. You got to watch it, Durb. I'm telling you, it's so good.
A foot in the door, you're killing off the characters from Aliens, and it's just like, all right, how are you going to dig yourself out of this? And granted, the characters in Alien 3 aren't the absolute worst. Pete Postlethwaite I quite enjoyed. But yeah, it's sloppy. It's to be polite. It's sloppy, and the ending, they really paint themselves in a horror corner there with that ending.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that Pete Postlethwaite's the one you remember.
Charles S. Dutton.
I
name,
quite
it just
enjoy.
rolls off the tongue.
Pete Postlethwaite doesn't do a right lot, to be honest. Charles S. Dutton and Charles Dance in particular.
Yes,
really.
Those two were great, I thought.
And also Paul McGann, especially in the assembly cut. So those three characters, I would say, definitely stood out for me more than Pete Postlethwaite. But no, there's two criticisms I have of the film. One is the obvious one, the opening. But once that happens, you just got to deal with it. Look, they're dead. This is the film we've got. So
I can't deal with it. I just can't. Go on.
What is the film from this point on? You know, so, and the film from that point on is actually not a half bad one. So
Right.
For me, it's that final act when they're trying to trap the thing. It just drags on a bit, and with all the running around in corridors and all the characters have bald, shaved heads, you can't really tell who's who and what's going on, and so I do get a bit confused a bit in those times. Who's it chasing after now? And there's literally one character who his door jams, so you think the alien's going to come for him, but it doesn't. But it kills someone, and you think it's him, but it's not him. That guy's still. So it's a bit confusing because of the look of it, the look of the characters, and just all the running about in the corridors.
Some of the cinematography's a little wonky too.
I think the cinematography is pretty damn good.
You're drunk.
No, I agree with Bryan on that one. I love the cinematography in Alien 3.
Oh, you're even drunker.
Very drunk.
Bear in mind, I saw it yesterday.
Yeah, I wasn't able to rewatch it.
Drunk on your jean shorts.
Going back to them, my honest expectation was that Alien 3 was going to be the worst, and Alien Resurrection would be pretty solid. That ain't the way it went. Alien Resurrection for me was definitely the worst. And Alien 3, the assembly cut, I can't talk about the theatrical cut, it's been so long since I've seen it, but the assembly cut is, I would say, a decent film. Yes, I hate that what they did to Newton Hicks, but it happened. There's nothing I can do about that. What's the rest of the film like after that? And it's actually pretty decent. I love the character of Charles Dance plays. I love his backstory, being this doctor who chose to stay there because he kind of, in a way, found his redemption amongst these motley crew of people after the big mistake he made in his medical career. And I like the relationship that builds between him and Ripley. And when he cops it, I remember genuinely not liking it when he got killed, because I genuinely liked his character. So, yeah, I think they give us some pretty likable characters, despite the fact it's a prison full of murderers, rapists, and goodness knows what. And I like, again, the Paul McGann character. They cut a lot of this stuff out in the theatrical cut, but in the assembly cut, he sees the beast, the dragon, as he calls it, and because of his brain, the way it works, he's a bit demented, basically. That some of the other members take the mick out of him because of it. He starts to worship it, and he kind of he sees it as some kind of godlike creature that's come into their midst. Because if you remember, they're a religious group.
Yeah, they're
like a religious sect.
Yeah.
So he because of the wiring in his brain, he sees this thing as some kind of, I don't know, a creature sent from God or whatever to. Yeah, so he's the one who opens the door and lets it out once they've got it trapped, and I liked that stuff. I liked where they went with it. Like I say, just don't like that opening, and I don't like how they drag the ending out just a bit too much.
I've only seen it theatrical. That sounds slightly more interesting.
You need to. You have to see. In my opinion, you have to see the assembly cut. It's a much better film. In terms of characters, there's a whole subplot with the character Gallic, who is kind of, he's the most eccentric character of the movie, and they barely scratch the surface with him in the theatrical. You get another whole 30-minute subplot with him that I think works really well, and you get a better understanding of all the characters, I think, in the assembly cut. I was going to let Durban go next, and then I would go, and then I'll let Cody go, so that way we get a nice reverse shit sandwich. So, so Durban, you've only seen the theatrical. Give me your thoughts on the theatrical. What works? What doesn't work?
Well, I made a huge sin with this. I watched Aliens, and then back to back, I watched Alien 3, and that made me hate the death of Hicks and Newt. I probably had a more severe reaction to it because I watched the movies back to back than other people did. Because, I mean, here we go through all of Aliens. Come on, Newt. Come on, Hicks. I love Ripley and Hicks together. And look, Ripley's got a daughter. I'm so excited. Oh, I can't wait to watch the next one. What? What? I mean, not even a dramatic, slow motion face hugger on his face or, you know, what? Nothing. It's just unceremonious. And you know, I wanted to get past it, Brian. I did. I wanted to accept it and move on, kind of like I did with Resurrection. But I was so mad. And as much as I loved, you know, Lord Lannister in this movie, and he was my favorite character, and I was happy Ripley could, you know, like somebody else, I'm watching this like, you're cheating on Hicks. Oh, that's right, he's freaking dead because this movie's a jerk. But I don't know. Like, beyond that, it had a few cool little action-y moments hither and thither. Probably the best scene is that iconic scene that's in the trailer when she has the queen that's inside of her, and so the thing comes right up to her face, little second mouth comes out. Like, little moments like that are cool. When, you know, Lord Lannister was killed, I was really sad. I don't know, I could not get past being so angry. But again, that's also because it's my first time watching it. It's just the theatrical cut, and I did it back to back with Aliens, and I was so mad at it for taking away what made Aliens so intense for me. And that was my problem. So it's less of a technical thing. It's more of an emotional thing. I have not watched this movie since then, and I don't even want to. I'm mad. I am mad. It needs to apologize.
Well, a Lannister does always pay their debts, so he definitely paid his debt in that one.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello to Lindsay. She's in the chat, and she says Alien 3 is great, and that's a perfect little transition into my opinion on Alien 3. Okay, taking you back, you remember I said that Alien 3 was kind of what got me into the franchise so much. Jumping off of Aliens, I love Aliens, and it's a movie that just gets better every time I watch it. But when I watched Aliens, the fate of Hicks at the end and Newt, it didn't really shock me that they died, because I mean, if you look at what happened with Hicks, I mean, half his face was freaking melted off. So I wasn't shocked that he wasn't going to be in the next movie. This is Ripley's franchise, and I liked to go into the next movie trying to make another action film like James Cameron did. You don't do that. You're not going to top what James Cameron did. And I like that they stripped it back down and they did a movie similar to the first movie where it's just one alien. And I like the world that they had there. I'm glad they didn't do the wooden planet, which was originally planned. It was just this prison. And I was interested. One thing, I love prison movies. And I was really interested in what a prison movie or location would be like in an alien movie. And so I kind of dug that. I really liked getting to know these characters. Charles S. Dutton was so interesting. Charles Dance, I think if you had, with those characters, if you had Newt and you had Bishop in there, I think it would kind of get in the way of the vibe, because it's a different vibe in Aliens. And so I think what they were going for in this one was just kind of Ripley struggling where she was going to end up at, because you felt that this was going to be the last Alien movie. That's what it was marketed as, I think, at the time. And so I don't know, I just really liked it. Even the theatrical, I kind of enjoyed when I first saw it, but once I saw the assembly cut, then I really bought into it, and that's the only version I watch from this point on.
Yeah.
But
that's what I need to see.
Yeah.
Worshipping the alien, that's way more interesting than what I got.
Yeah, but I'm not going to give this movie a glowing review. It's not a 5-star movie. For me, it's a 4-star movie. But what it does right, I like. I think it's not the type of movie that I can just throw in at any time, like the first couple movies, even Covenant. It's a movie that I have to prepare myself for. Okay, I think I'm ready to give Alien 3 another watch. It's because it kind of takes something from you when you're finished watching it. And I like movies like that from time to time. So, yeah, I like Alien 3. I do. Like I said, I don't think it's perfect, but I like what it strived for. So
Super chat. Oh boy, super chat from CJ Kidd. Last question. Don't want to Super chat to be on me. Better film, Alien, Jaws, or Halloween 1978?
Alien.
Alien.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment.
No contest. Alien.
It's just
That's
it's a
like
hard
that-
thing to say because they're
those-
so different.
Those three is like choosing your favorite kid.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
No.
That's true.
Well, my
but
favorite kid is clearly Alien then, because
Those
I'm
are
a
like the-
sci-fi fantasy guy, like I said before. So for me,
Yeah.
Alien definitely fits more in that category for me.
Those are 3 of the 4 movies that I watch more than any other movie. Star Wars is in there too. Those 4 movies I watch more than any other movie in my library. So it's hard for me to pick which one's the best. You know?
I love Halloween, but it's a 4-star film for me. Alien is a 5-star film. It's just so influential in so many ways. Just love it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so we're on Cody. So Cody, you got the last word on Alien 3. Roll up your sleeves.
I'm going to echo a lot of
Cody.
what. Yes.
Cody, sorry, didn't want to interrupt. It's just I had a thought before when Lee was talking. If I don't say it, I'll probably forget it. I just what I did like about Alien 3, just going off the back of all the talk about Newt and Hicks dying, is that I do like that we spend a lot of time with Ripley's reaction to that.
Yeah.
So it's not something that just, oh, they're dead, right, let's move on with another story, let's push that to one side. I do like that we get this scene in which there's a deep sense of mourning going on with Ripley. So they do touch on it in a big way. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because it is a big part of the film, and let's not forget also that because Ripley was being set up to die in the film as well. Yeah. It's not like,
and that autopsy scene is pretty damn cringeworthy.
Yeah. Why did you say autopsy like that?
Yeah, autopsy.
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 Sounds like a disease.
Fuck you. Cody.
All right, so I'm gonna echo a lot of what Durban said, but this is from somebody that grew up watching Aliens, so it's like multiplied by about 30. So you have Aliens, and you have this huge victory at the end. You have this larger-than-life situation. You have this odds stacked unbelievably against Ripley. I mean, even just the size of the Queen against her is enough, but just the odds of the situation, you had the victory at the end. She gets away. She saves her daughter, which they spend, the last third of the movie doing. You get Hicks. You're curious where this relationship's going to go. You open up Alien 3, and like Durban said, it's not even that they just kill the 2 characters immediately, but it's unceremonious, and it kills them in a way that makes all 3 of them look like idiots. Oh, there was a face hugger hiding out on the ship. So you have this ship that's parked on this infested planet, and the first thing you don't do before going to sleep is check that fucking thing to make sure there's no aliens walking around. It makes them look like idiots, and it destroys the victory of Aliens. No matter how
Ripley would have checked. She was the smartest one there. She would have checked.
No matter how you look at the movie, the beginning of Alien 3 takes a lot away from Aliens, and I hate when a movie does that. Like, if we always talk about Halloween. That's one of the biggest things that people harp on with Halloween Resurrection is that it completely takes away from the victory of Halloween H2O. It's the same exact thing.
Hold on. Did you say it's unceremonious? They literally had a ceremony for them.
No, it's not. It's unceremonious when the movie opens up in the opening credits when you see Alien 3, Sigourney Weaver, Charles Dance, and everything, and you see that the 2 characters that you love the most alongside Ripley is dead. With the fact that they explore it later on in the movie doesn't make it ceremonious.
Okay,
but you have in my opinion, you have Alien 3, so that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing of why I can't enjoy the movie, because it takes so much away from a much better film that it kills me to watch it. You take that out of it, the movie's okay. It's mediocre. It goes to Bryan's point. If you're going to do something past Alien and Aliens, you're going to repeat yourself and you're going to do an inferior version of it. And they did an inferior version of Alien. You go from Alien, isolated movie, slasher, 1 alien in this ship, and then you go to Aliens, larger-than-life, military, action, huge, epic scope, and then they try to go back down to that. And it doesn't quite fit. When you go from Aliens back down to 1 alien running around that doesn't look anywhere near as good as the first 2 movies, that's not executed nearly as good as the first 2 movies, that the characters surrounding the situation aren't anywhere near as good as the first 2 movies. Charles Dance interesting enough. Like Durban says, it feels like she's cheating on Hicks, so you can't really quite get on that. You have Charles S. Dutton, who's a very interesting character, but he's surrounded by a bunch of other characters that I can't remember at all. The prison setting, the tone of the movie, it's just very drab and down and dour. And there's not really even like a surprise towards the end where, oh my God, there's an alien inside of her and she has to kill herself, because the writing's on the wall from the beginning of the movie that, well, obviously if it led to the death of the first two, then something's going on with her because she's still alive. So that's not even really something that I can look forward to. It's just the whole movie to me is just, it just reeks. You know, technically, is it the best or the worst movie of this franchise? Absolutely not. There's at least two, arguably three movies that are worse made movies than Alien 3. Does it have a fascinating history with how they made it and all the different versions of scripts and different directors, and even when they shot this movie, the different versions of this movie that came out of it? Absolutely. Is it an interesting movie for the story alone of how it was made? Yes, but just because I love Aliens so much, it's the opposite end of the spectrum for Alien 3, because right out of the gate, it just takes so much away from the ending and the victory and the overall journey that they went on in Aliens.
I think that's one thing I love about the Alien franchise. It's not treated like a slasher franchise where you pretty much get the same movie over and over. You never know what you're going to get with Alien. And even if you don't like all the movies, that's something that always kind of interests me when a new movie's announced. You know, I'm like, ooh, I wonder which direction they're going to go this time. Go ahead, Brian. What were you going to say?
I was just saying, here's the thing. I don't disagree with a single thing Cody just said. It's a bizarre thing. It's like back in '93, was it, when I watched this, '94? I had the exact same reaction Cody had, and I hated the movie as a result of it. And then I got the box set because it had a different cut of it. I wanted to see if it would up it somewhat, but I don't know, I guess just the passage of time, I still have those gripes. I still hate what they do with those characters. But I don't know, I'm just not that guy who's gonna, because I've still got Aliens, that's the thing. And I guess I don't know, I guess I look at it as some kind of parallel universe sequel in which actually my Alien movies stop with Alien and Aliens. And I will watch this other one as almost like fan fiction, I guess. But I do. I enjoy Alien 3, the assembly cut. I will watch it each time I watch Alien and Aliens. But I can't disagree with anything that Cody or Durban said. I agree with everything they said. So.
Now we're going to jump over into two movies that we're all going to pretty much agree on.
Yeah.
Where's the fun in that? James Cameron's Aliens. I love what, James Cameron, he approached, he was a big fan of the first movie. And this was a good, 7 years after the first movie came out. People were wondering, like, are we ever going to get a sequel to Alien? And so I think people were expecting more of the same. And then James Cameron, I don't think he had earned James Cameron yet. He did Terminator, but he still wasn't, he was no Jordan Peele. But God, I couldn't resist. That joke just like hit me right in the face as I was talking. But yeah, but I mean, I forgot what I was saying now. But yeah, I love that in Aliens, it's like, he said, you know what, I'm just going to make a balls-out action movie. And I think he saw the potential with the xenomorph. And what if we had more xenomorphs? And we put them against this, like... And I will say, Aliens, to me, because people always ask me, because I was in the military, what's the best military movie out there? I tell them Aliens. And they're surprised by that, usually, because they think I'm going to say something like freaking, Platoon or something like that. But I think Aliens nails that military aspect better than most military movies. So CP, let's start with you. Let's get your thoughts on James Cameron's Aliens.
My second favorite film in the franchise. I think that because I like the underlying stuff that is in Alien, which I guess we'll get to later. But there is, it's mostly action, but the whole theme of motherhood is done quite well, if not perfect, with the parallels between Ripley's daughter in the beginning and how she takes over with Newt. What is that face, Brian?
Oh, not to you, to something going on in the
in the chat. Lindsay's stirring up controversy like she always does.
Yeah, when Bryan paces like this and makes faces,
Love
I
you,
know
Linz.
that means he's got some sort of disagreement.
Just coming out.
I know.
Yeah.
something else.
She's a pistol.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying something else on.
Oh yeah, the action's turned up, which is great. It's really great, but I tend to lean towards the motherhood subtext to it, even though it's not really subtext. But yeah. Can you tell I haven't rewatched these recently? I really meant to. And
You're just like digging for words.
Yeah, dude, I really meant to rewatch them and didn't realize they weren't in my possession.
One thing that I
movies.
did not mention when I was talking was, you're welcome, CP, was the character of Ripley, I think, earns her stripes in this movie. In the first movie, you know, people didn't really talk about Ripley as a character as much. She is the final girl in that movie, but I think it's Aliens that cemented her as one of the most badass final girls like ever. You know, she set the standard, and still to this day, people always show that shot of her with that machine gun in Aliens. You know, she really took charge, and that's really what you want to do when you have a heroine, a female heroine that's just, you know,
heroine. Oh,
me too.
Because you find out she's a mother as well.
Yeah,
Not only that, the first film, it's kind of like you say, the slasher thing. She just happens to be the last one left, and she becomes this great character, and you love her for that. But when you get to Aliens, that's where I was talking about with the odds being stacked so highly against her. She's a woman coming from this, you know, other era completely, and she's inserted into this futuristic, buffed out, epic, you know, testosterone fueled army of soldiers and Marines, and she's the one that has to be the badass at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah. Well, because they're too stupid to listen to her.
Yeah,
and it's interesting because it adds another element of entertainment to the movie for me. Because they're all so dumb and won't listen to her advice. Don't go in that room. Don't do this. Don't do. Hey, I've been through this, and they're like, whatever, stupid woman. We know way better than you. And so then they go, and then it's more satisfying when they're ripped to shreds by the aliens. It's like, yes, they're put. Although, well, he's not put in his place. He's dead. But yeah, you know, it's like it's interesting the way like it got me into it that way. It made me attached to Ripley even more because she's right. But nobody's listening to her. Why did you bring her if you're not going to listen? And then she gets proven right, and rather than like lording that over them, I mean, she just mans up and does like some of the most awesome stuff in this movie.
She proves herself every step of the way as well, because like she's taken along on the mission, and the Marines look at her like she's just this advisor who's probably got a stick up her ass or something. But you know, she says, "Look, I want to do something. I can do something." And they're like, "Well, what can you do?" He's like, "I can drive one of them loaders."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Go ahead then." And then she
Bay
comes
12,
out
please.
with it, and they both laugh because they're just like, "Okay, she's just she's shown us she's clearly one of the guys basically." So yeah, like there's loads of moments like that, but primarily for me, what really makes this film stand out is just that. The motherhood aspect, finding out, and particularly in the extended cut, that comes out even more. You know, we have scenes where we see her daughter and how she's grown old and died, and it just once we get to the planet and we see Newt, we know that actually she's gone there dealing with the loss of a daughter. You know, she's woke up from cryo, and the first thing she's thinking about is this promise she made to her daughter that she would be back for her birthday within 6 months. Well, her daughter's dead of old age, and then
I prefer the theatrical over the director's cut.
Oh no chance.
Saying it.
So like when she finds Newt, she makes a promise to Newt that she won't lose her. She'll always come.
So that gets to be broken again when Newt gets to die a horrible death, drowning in her.
They mostly come out at night. Mostly.
But the thing is, it's like this is the story that Ripley's going through here. She makes this promise to Newt, and so when she goes back at the end, she's not just going back for Newt. She's going back because of the promise she made to her own daughter that she wasn't able to keep. So it really is a mother's story. The whole film is a mother's story. And going back as well to what we said about Covenant and how the aliens don't even come into it in until the last 20 minutes. This film, and even Alien, as a matter of fact, but this film, the aliens don't come into it until well in an hour and 20 minutes, something like that. It's all story.
And you're completely engulfed in what's going on, even though you haven't seen a single xenomorph, because of characters like Burke, played brilliantly by Paul Reiser. This is a character that has been, I think, copied time and time again since the release of Aliens. He's just irresistible, because I don't think he, at first you think he's a decent guy. And I think he's a company man, and he's completely, he's all about screwing anybody over that he can for the good of the company, Yeah,
his descent into slimeballness is pretty neat. Backlogging on a super chat, leaving the hype, $5. Thank you. Best and worst look: traditional alien, queen alien, dog alien, human alien, predator alien, white alien, or alien at the end of Prometheus, which is the blackish one.
Oh, Alien, the first one.
I love the queen from Aliens.
I'm going to go with the queen from Aliens, because she was freaky. Really freaky and gross.
Oh, yeah.
Had a spider-like quality to her.
For sure.
And I hate spiders, so it really played on that fear for me. And I hate
the facehuggers.
Oh, no. Yeah, the first facehugger that came out when I watched Alien, I was going to hit something. I hate spiders. I hate it. And one that wants to hug my face. No.
The scene in Aliens, actually
one of the most... hug it.
One of the most tense scenes.
When they're locked into that med bay and that facehugger's in there with them. Oh, yeah.
If I could defend the first one, though, that scene, the first time we see the xenomorph in the first Alien, and you see, I can't remember the guy's name.
It's in the chains.
Yeah, the chains. The camera pans up, and you see the water dripping, and then you just see, in the shadows, the xenomorph. That scared the crap out of me when I first saw that.
That's a good scene.
It's a great scene.
The scene in Aliens when Ripley and Newt wake up in that room and Reiser's character has let those two facehuggers out. That for me has always been one of the most tense scenes. Even watching it yesterday, after knowing exactly what happens in it, I'm still always really tense when that facehugger jumps at her and she's like that, and it's wrapping around her neck, and it's just
it creeps me out. And this is probably not as intense as the wrapped around the neck, but when she hits it with the back, she's kind of doing whatever they're doing there. That freaks me out, because I hate and I really hate spiders. And so here I am looking at this creature. You can only see its legs coming down from the bottom of the bed, and it's like, oh dear God, get out of there! Get some raid. Step on it.
And what about Bill Paxton? We didn't even mention him either. Hudson, secure that shit, Hudson.
So good.
So many great. Because of Bill Paxton, we have lines that are still quoted to this day, because he had so many gold lines.
Game over.
I wonder if when they wrote the script, I wonder if Cameron knew that these were gonna be signature lines, or if that's something that Paxton created himself. Just in the delivery.
It's all in his delivery.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's because he's such a chest pumping alpha male throughout the first half of the movie, and then he's immediately he's the biggest pussy once it actually hits war.
Yeah, but it's dry heat.
Yeah,
kind of.
I like when he's looking down. I like when he's looking down the floor and it's melted down for 4 floors, and she just taps him. He's like, "Quit playing around."
Why don't you put her in charge?
Has a similar aspect in True Lies, where he's kind of the same thing as the
oh man,
Predator 2.
Yeah. True Lies is one of my favorite movies, and I love Bill Paxton in that movie.
Indeed. Where's that Blu-ray?
I gotta say, I really love Lance Henriksen as well.
Bishop.
Do you, Bryan?
Yes.
No.
The whole reason I went to that convention was because of him. I got that video and then I was out of there.
That's great.
And it was because of two roles, this and Near Dark. But yeah, I always loved him in this, just because he's got such a negative kind of thing towards him in Ripley's eyes, because her past experience with Ash, he was such a big part of the first film. And we as the audience, if you've seen Alien first, we also have that experience. This is a robot. anything could happen with this guy. So he's kind of got to prove himself to her, and he does a very good job of just manning up, like when he votes for himself to go out and do that deflector dish thing, and it's just like the satellite dish, and it's just he earns your trust, I think.
Yeah.
And so
the
when
bit of symbolism there is interesting to watch Paul Reiser lose his humanity to the company, and he's human, flesh and blood.
Yep.
But he gets colder and colder and colder, whereas Bishop, who is synthetic and artificial, becomes more and more human.
Great analogy, Durbin. Great analogy.
They kind of revisit that. They revisit that in Covenant as well, because they give you the good side of Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
With,
David and Walter.
Yeah, exactly. So they kind of revisit that a bit.
By the way, those two characters are named after the producer of the whole Alien franchise, David Giler and Walter Hill.
That's pretty awesome.
That's my
There's the
IMDb
idea.
contribution for the day. IMDb.
I just say as well that one of the big aspects of the first two Alien films really is those androids. You know, people bitch and moan about David taking center stage and stuff, but Ash in the first Alien is such a huge part of that film.
Yeah,
it really is.
Oh, yeah.
Watching it again, for a start, he gets more screen time than the alien. Let's just say that much.
Yep.
He is the real villain in one sense. There's a whole thing there about in Alien, which again which Ridley Scott clearly had a fascination with back in that original film, which he just continued with Prometheus, which is this idea of the creator and the created. There's a whole scene when Ash has been taken out, and they kind of switch him on again to talk to him, and he's talking about the alien and how he admires it, and how he admires the fact that it has no moral conscience. It's answerable to no one, and you can see that's what he wants to be. You know, he's kind of a slave in much the same way that David was. But whereas David is able to break free because of a lack of certain programming, Ash isn't able to do that. He has to do what the company requires of him, but he can still look at this beast and think, man, that's perfect creation. I admire that. And it's just, he's the next logical step, so to speak, after David.
Which raises a good question too. Like, he's an android, but yet he is so like fascinated by the xenomorph, and it makes you question, like, why is he fascinated? Is he having an emotion there, or is that something like the company put into him to just be completely fascinated by the xenomorph? It's just another thing about the Alien franchise that always raises these questions. You know, they don't spell it out, but that scene when
you see him get excited.
Yeah,
there's a bit. So when they go off the ship to go just before John Hurt gets face hugged, there's a bit where they're leaving, and you see Ash revving himself up.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah,
and it's like. It's only in hindsight, knowing who he is and knowing that actually he doesn't need to warm his body. He doesn't need to do that. It's like this moment of excitement, and he doesn't know how to express it, and it comes out in this weird body movement that he does, and it's a really great moment, I think.
I'm surprised neither of you touched on the from 1 to 2, how what we know about Ash in part 1, that there isn't this dread and lack of trust with the android in part 2, because you know that they go bad. I thought you were going in that direction with what you were saying, but you never really. Oh, go ahead.
I mentioned that with Ripley, like we're looking at that. We have that dread as the audience if you see an alien, and Ripley has that dread, which is why she says, "Stay the hell away from me."
Right.
But the rest of the crew don't, because it's information they don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You want to talk about uncomfortable scenes too? That scene where he attacks Ripley, and he folds up this newspaper and tries to shove it down her mouth, and I like that they approached that from a kind of a weird angle as far as how a fight scene would play out with an android. He's not going to do exactly what like a human being might do in a fight, and it's a very uncomfortable scene. It's almost sexual, you know. It's like he's trying
almost.
Yeah.
Well, that
I was leaning into it.
Underlying theme throughout both those first two movies is like
rape.
uncomfortable.
Rape is a big underlying thing in the entire movie.
Well, just the H.R. Geiger design is based off of like sexualization and shit. So,
Durban, I know that you're new to the franchise, so when you watched Alien for the first time, and we've already transitioned into Alien thanks to Bryan.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on Alien? Did you see it as the masterpiece that everybody else sees it, or are we just kind of going through nostalgia goggles?
Well, it's weird because it's one of those things where I didn't have the nostalgia goggles, but I could see exactly where the nostalgia goggles came from, because it's like, this is 1979 and it's put together this well.
And it still looks current.
This good.
Yeah.
And so like all of that was just incredible. And I'll tell you the scene that got me the most, and it wasn't seeing the alien for the first time in the chains or anything like that, but the scene that had me on the edge of my seat was what we were just talking about. After he's putting that magazine or whatever down her throat, and then the other guy comes in and starts beating the crap out of him, and he starts convulsing and rolling around the walls of the room. I'm like, what is this?
What's going on?
I had no concept of the synthetic or the android. Like, I didn't realize that was this theme that kept occurring, so I didn't know he was a synthetic.
Oh,
so it was a total
great.
Surprise, and he beats off his head and milk comes out. I'm like,
it's an insane scene. It really is. It's one of the most underrated scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie. People rarely talk about that scene, but it's unhinged.
That scene freaked me out. I was scared.
Yeah, it's pretty frightening.
Yeah. But like that scene got me more than almost like the classic chest bursting scene was great, but this weird scene got me even more than that, because I knew the chest burster scene was coming. I'm thinking, what the crap is this? And so that scene, that reveal that he was a synthetic, I mean, my wife and I both were like, what is going on? Whoa. And so like that scene was incredible, and I loved going in not knowing that and having those fresh eyes and being able to be surprised by something like that in this movie. And so like that was the most intense scene. But otherwise, I mean, I liked the first Alien a lot. It was a really good movie. I was ticked off that they kept going back to that stupid cat. Who was the weirdo who said bring a cat into deep space anyway?
Yeah.
And now they have to chase the cat while trying to get away from an alien, so they don't mix the two up on their sensors. And it's like, oh my gosh, just feed the cat to the alien. I mean, I love animals and I love cats, but get it over with so you don't have to like die over a cat.
Cody, quick question.
Another stupid thing, by the way, that, you know, again, people always rag on Covenant and Prometheus for the stupid decisions that characters make. No one ever calls them out for the whole cat thing. Why are you going back for a bloody cat?
I'm calling you out on the cat right now.
Yeah.
You should never have brought the cat to outer space.
Unbeknownst to me, that's why I've always gotten the hardest time trying to give my criticisms for Covenant and Prometheus, because there's all these stupid criticisms out there that apparently have overshadowed ones that make sense. But yeah, what were you asking me?
Cody, I was going to ask you, when you first saw Alien, did you know how the chest burst? Did you even know about the chest burster scene? Because I guess that's my question for everybody. Did anybody in here were you surprised by the chest burster scene? Cody, go ahead.
Yeah, I pretty much knew how the movie was going to play out when I first saw it, because I had grown up watching Aliens, and by the time I watched the first Alien, I was like 12 or 13, so I'd already seen clips. I've seen, like, you know, things like the Bravo top 100 scariest scenes, stuff like that. So there wasn't a whole lot of surprises left for me by the time I saw the first one.
I saw Spaceballs first. So
nice.
Kind of ruined it for me.
Oh yeah, there we go. But yeah, it's one of those movies that I'm curious how I would have responded to it if I had grown up with that one and then watched Aliens, if I would like it more. I've always held Aliens in a much higher regard, with a lot of respect for Alien, but I'll rewatch Aliens probably 20 times before I rewatch Alien.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the opposite. Like, I probably watch Alien the most. And just going back behind the scenes, like David Giler, this is all in those documentaries that I highly recommend. But David Giler was saying when they were reading the script, he was given the script, and the guy was like, you got to read this. This is a great script. Dan O'Bannon. And so when he was reading it, he got up to, like, the middle, and he was just like, I don't get it. Like, what is this movie? And he's like, keep reading. And so he kept reading, and then he got up to the chestburster scene, and he said, like, right after he read the chestburster scene, he put it down, and he called him up. He's like, okay, I see what you're talking about. It's just, it's that. So I can imagine what audiences in 1979, when they saw this movie in theaters, that had to be like, as far as like signature scenes and completely scaring your audience. I would just love to hear the reactions from people when that chest burster, because even the actors themselves were surprised by it. I mean, you saw the I can't remember the character's name, but her reaction is genuine. She had no clue. None of them had a clue what was going to happen in that scene before it played out. And I love when they direct scenes like that, where you're not only surprising your audience, but you're surprising your actual cast members.
I really wish the chestburster scene was like that for me. It's such an iconic scene that even though I had never seen the movies before, I knew about it. And when it started to happen, I knew what was coming, which is why the whole thing with Ash stood out to me even more, because I could not have seen that coming, and that freaked me out. But I really wish I could have gone in more blind and been surprised by that chestburster scene.
Yeah.
Something I like that not many people talk about a lot or don't give much credit to is the believability of the coworkers on the ship. Like, there's this, like, it's a sci-fi film. There's supposed to be this majesty, but there's, they're complaining about their pay.
Yeah, they want their bonus.
And they're bickering back and forth. Yeah, how come they don't freeze him? Like, there's just a whole bunch of believability. Like a guy that is like that, and it's in this sci-fi film, which is really unique. And
it's truckers in space.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what it is.
Not like Star Trek.
No.
It's like you get, like, the closest thing to a douchebag character is like the Yaphet Kotto character, but he's the kind of douchebag you get at work that you're still his friend. You know, it's like, oh, shut up moaning, will you? But he's right, and he's not, like, they take that too far these days. Like, the Alien and Aliens kind of became the blueprint for, let's get a team together, put them in a horror or sci-fi situation, and then you have the token douchebag, and they always play up that douchebag element to an extent where that's all they are. Whereas here, they feel like real, genuine people who are there on a job. So yeah, definitely.
It's crazy for me to think that if not for Star Wars, we might not have ever gotten Alien, because Alien sat on the desks for years even before Star Wars, and then Star Wars comes out. It's this huge hit. And so then they're like, oh, what's the next sci-fi script that we have? Alien. And so they ended up making Alien.
Fox in the day was Disney before Disney was Disney.
Yeah.
Fox was pumping out some good shit back then.
Yeah, they were. And that's a whole nother discussion, because it kind of pains me that Disney's buying up freaking Fox. And I think
we're going to start losing
coming on bad days.
competition in the box office, and that's going to suck.
Yeah.
I really want that last film in after Covenant. It's like, just give me that, please. Let Ridley Scott finish that trilogy, and then do whatever the hell you want. But I want the end of David's story.
I do too, and I want to see it be a nice transition into the Alien movie that we know.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to see us finally bridge that gap and make that connection between David and why he's no longer here and where all these things came from.
Yeah. Do you guys think that Ridley Scott had the foresight to get that tightened up in 3 movies, though?
No. Ridley Scott wanted to actually make another movie before, like, Alien Awakening was actually supposed to come out, or takes place before Covenant, and that's freaking. I don't know what he's smoking to think. That would confuse your audience.
That is confusing.
Yeah.
No, you do the next thing after Covenant, not in between. That would be annoying.
Yeah.
It was pretty public. There was a good bit of motivation in Ridley Scott to make more movies, just to hold on to it and keep other people from making movies. That's the reason why we don't have the Blomkamp movie. Because he said, "Fuck that! I'm doing my own thing."
I'm with you, but as long as there's a nice end to this Prometheus trilogy, and or a bridge to Alien, but I don't think we're on the right path for this to be wrapped up in one movie.
Well, I mean,
I think we could get it. We could get it wrapped up.
The things you could, if they forced him to, you could. If he could do whatever he wanted, no, you'd get a lot more than just one movie. But even as much criticism as I might have to say about Prometheus and Covenant, it does leave you in a spot where you can fill in the little bit of gap that there is. He's left with, hundreds of people to experiment on. He's got the two. I mean, you could easily just say, well, he crashed on LV-426 or whatever the planet name is, and aliens took over, and there you go. There's your story.
And we have the xenomorph in its original form now, so I think they could easily bridge that gap perfectly, and then it would be a nice little run all the way through. Seamless.
Yeah.
So for them to not take
mind
advantage of that would be stupid.
That, but I don't want any more.
What was that, Durbin? You said you don't want any more?
No, I said if I would like them to make that one and then just be done with the franchise.
I agree.
Like, leave it alone. It's good. It's got its misses. It's got its hits. Do one more. Let's just be done after that.
Which leads me to my question for you guys. Do we want that Blomkamp movie, as seductive as it is, do we want to Halloween this thing and start making different timelines? Bryan?
I'm not a fan of that. I'm really not a fan of that. I'm getting sick of it now because of Halloween, and I'm sure something else did it, didn't it?
There's like 4 or 5. Like Leprechaun did it. Even before Halloween, there was a couple movies that was going back, and it's the trend now.
I don't like it. I
hate that trend. Let's reboot a sequel, not the first
Texas
one.
Chainsaw 3D.
As much as I don't like Resurrection, the way I'd see it is, let's pick up on Earth 20 years after Resurrection. We've got Ripley in a military prison because of the destruction that was caused with that ship hitting Earth. Then a situation occurs which requires them to need her expertise in that area. Aliens on Earth, boom, go.
Yeah, I think the only logical direction they can go is after Resurrection. If they do another movie to bridge that gap, if you ever want to make another Alien movie in the future, you can make one after Alien Resurrection, tell whatever story you want. But I think if you start wedging movies in between and retconning timelines, then you're going to get yourself into trouble.
And I don't like the retconning timeline idea at all. I have a hard enough time as they're trying to do it right now. It's like, just stop retconning timelines. It is what it is.
Terminator.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Well, that was weird. Like, there were parts of Genesis I liked, but it's like, come on, just let it lie, okay?
But the new one's
Linda Hamilton's back, so
the new one's doing it now. The new one is
I know they're retconning it yet again. It's like, stop.
And they've already lost like 2/3 of their fan base. What they're doing with Terminator now, people don't even take the series seriously now because of what they've done.
And it's sad because like Terminator 2 is freaking.
It's one of the greatest action films ever.
I thought Terminator 3 was okay. I'm not going to hail it as anything great. I like the unique, different perspective of Salvation, but let's retcon everything. It's just stop.
Cody, you over there?
Yeah, I'm
personally, I hated Terminator 3, but I'm still not down with the whole retconning. But
plus, we get a new John Connor like every freaking movie. That gets annoying.
Yeah. I'm on the fence with Alien because I am kind of annoyed with the let's just go back to the best movie and continue from there and delete everything. RoboCop's doing it again too. Like there's a lot that are in progress. But on the flip side of that, what is my biggest gripe with Alien 3? That they kill off these characters unceremoniously. What would going back to Alien fix? Bringing those characters back. That's what the whole concept of this Neil Blomkamp thing was, is bringing Hicks back, bringing Newt back, giving us the true continuation of that story without the
Would it be the
gut
continuation
punch.
of Aliens?
Yes.
But they all be old now.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But that concept interests me a hell of a lot more than any other, anything after Resurrection or any other idea they might have, because then it's going to go right back to what Bryan said. We'll do the same concept again. We'll get the star back, and that it'll be good just because we get Sigourney Weaver back. When it's been proven that Sigourney Weaver being in this franchise doesn't necessarily mean it gets a gold star. Yeah. To me, and I think that's one of the reasons why there was so much fan backlash against the Ridley Scott movies, is because there was a large part of the fan base of Alien before Prometheus existed. That concept of going back to aliens, and kind of fixing where a lot of people feel like the franchise went wrong. I'll be back, guys.
Hey, Dennis just brought up a thing in the chat. He said, "Okay, let's bring back Furlong. Let's bring back Furlong as John." Haha. And I'm sure some people are going to agree with him on that. That's silly because of the current status of Edward Furlong. I still think I would welcome that if Furlong came back under proper supervision.
God knows he needs to work.
Anybody else agree though, or do you think Edward Furlong's not the right choice for John Connor? CP?
I don't know. I think given his life experience that he's had so far, he probably looked grizzled enough to be the proper John Connor now, to be honest. So no, he was John Connor. He's still John Connor. You don't stop being the character if you're the actor that played them. So
yeah, it's not like he's still a functioning human being. He could go on a diet just like anybody else, you know. He can act. I've seen some of his later movies. They're B movies, but he can still act. So I don't know. Cody?
I came in mid-question. What was the question?
Edward Furlong, would you welcome him back as John Connor?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I don't want anybody but Edward Furlong as John Connor. Not because of how much I love T2, but that's my biggest gripe with the Terminator franchise is I can never get attached to the character because every fucking movie is a recast, and every movie the casting is worse.
Yep.
And so it just go back to Edward Furlong. It's not like he's this phenomenal actor, but that personality that he brought to that character is what we all know John Connor to be. This rough around the edges, not really that good of a listener, kind of rebel, and that's what turns into this, this guy that's going to rebel against this new age of machines, because that personality that he brought to that character as a 13-year-old kid is what's going to evolve into this military leader. So if you go back, and you're not going to have to pay him very much money, you could probably pay him $200 and get the guy to do the movie.
Yeah.
It's not like he's doing anything. Get him off the drugs if he's not already on it, or at least tell him to put the crack pipe down in between takes. Get him to lose a little bit of weight.
Yeah, put him on a diet, give him a trainer.
On him, and you could easily, that's the only thing I'm really worried about with this new Terminator movie, aside from history repeating itself, is, okay, great, we get Linda Hamilton back. She looks awesome. She looks great. She's in shape. She's a huge piece of the movie that's going to be there now. But what's going to go on with John Connor now? When we get into this movie, is there a reason why they're not showing us John Connor? Because he's going to be a throwaway, even though the entire storyline is supposed to be about him. At the end of the day, everything that goes on in these movies is about John Connor.
I will even take the leap and say I would be more interested over Arnold, over Linda Hamilton, if Edward Furlong came back. I would be so interested in that character for them to finally come full circle and get him right that would make me interested in the movie. I'll even go ahead and say that. What's up, Wolfman's got nards. I had to say that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I'm right there with you.
Durban, what do you think?
I'm just so annoyed by all the stupid sequel retconning thing and not knowing where are we actually right now in the Terminator timeline. Which one is this new one doing? Where is it taking place from? And it's like, it's exhausting to try to think of it. But yeah, no, bring back Edward Furlong, because I'm OCD about continuity.
Yeah, me too.
And I still freak out that we have two different Hulks in the same MCU, even though I like our current Hulk way better than Edward Norton. But, it's still that OCD part of me that's like, well, okay, whatever. I'll just try it. So if you him back, that's going to settle my OCD, and that's going to make me happy. And if you call this the new Terminator 3 with a lot of that original cast back, and you don't throw away John Connor, whom the whole darn thing is supposed to be about anyway,
that's exciting.
You truly bring this full circle, then I will ignore everything else and say this is the Terminator trilogy I'm proud of.
Yep. Yeah. That would be badass. Guys, I think we've pretty much wrapped up everything here.
Are we going to rank?
What? Say it. Say again.
Are we going to rank? Do our personal ranking?
I wasn't gonna. I mean, if you guys really want to rank them, we could go real quick and do everybody and rank them real quick. And I was gonna say, if you guys wanted to field a couple questions from the chat, we could do that too, maybe for like 10 minutes.
I'll do whatever you guys say to do.
Okay.
Either way.
Cool. We'll do that then. So, guys, start rattling out them questions for us real quick. We're gonna go through and we're gonna rank the franchise. Cody, we're gonna start with you. Give me your Alien ranking, not including AVP movies.
Not including AVP?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's difficult because that's where I have it in my head.
I love it.
You know what? Go ahead then. Include the AVP if you want.
Okay. Starting off at the bottom is Alien 3. Yes, it's not the worst made movie, but I can't stand it. So Alien 3. Right above that is Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Then above that is Prometheus, then Covenant, and then Resurrection, AVP, Aliens, and then Alien. Or no, Alien and then Aliens, sorry.
Okay. Durban?
I would have to say worst to best. It would be Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Oh, gosh. Okay, now I got to get these movies straight in my head.
Alien 3.
Then I'd have to put in Alien Resurrection, and then
You forgot Alien 3.
I did. I put it at the worst. The worst.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
never mind.
I
You
already
glitched
said
on
it.
my end then. You glitched on
Oh,
my end then.
well,
All I heard
there we
was
go.
Requiem and
You
then...
know what? Let me just say it again. Alien 3 is the worst, and I put that at the bottom of my list.
Sorry.
Followed by AVPR, then probably Alien Resurrection, and then AVP is probably right there, smack dab in the middle for me. And then, okay, hold on. What movie am I now missing?
The 2 Prometheus films and the Alien and Aliens.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So let's say Prometheus, then AVP at number 5, and then let's go with my Alien at number 4. Gosh, I got to get a list of these movies in front of me.
It's hard to verbalize the ranking.
I don't like math, and now I'm having to think.
Math hurts.
Go to somebody else. Let me get a list
you think
in
about
front of me, and I'll
10
rank it.
movies, man.
CP, go ahead.
8 movies.
Bottom to top, Requiem, Resurrection, Alien vs. Predator, Alien 3, Covenant, Prometheus, Aliens, Alien.
Very good. Bryan?
Resurrection at the bottom. Then AVP. AVP Requiem. Alien 3. Prometheus. Covenant. Alien. Aliens.
I will say Resurrection at the bottom. AVP Requiem is better than Alien Resurrection. Oh, actually, no.
More
AVP.
fun.
No, actually, AVP is my least favorite. Then Resurrection. Then AVP Requiem. I actually prefer Requiem over. I know that
Me
you
too.
can't see the
Me
movie.
You
I
guys
get
have
that.
your contrast turned up? Because I'm...
No, I'm
trying to
saying
figure
I
out
know
what
I know you
guys
can't
watch.
see the movie, but what I can
15%
see,
you
I
can
like
actually
better than
watch is pretty
AVP.
good.
Feels like a genuine Predator film as well.
Yeah, it does. And I like the what is it, the hybrid?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
cool.
That's cool. I like it. I don't know. It's a
But I
rated
couldn't
R
see
movie.
The hybrid, so you know.
You should not be making PG-13 alien movies. No, don't do that. Then we got Alien 3. Then we got Prometheus. Then Covenant. Then Aliens. Then Alien. That's my ranking. So
I got a list in front of me, so now I can do this.
go ahead.
Okay. Worst. Let me emphasize again. Worst. Alien 3, followed by AVP Requiem, and then we have Alien Resurrection, and then I would probably put Prometheus. Then I would probably follow that up with AVP, and then Alien, Aliens, and Alien Covenant.
Very good.
How do you put AVP above Prometheus?
Well, because I love. Okay, first off, I'm a fan of that History Channel show, Ancient Aliens, and that show is so ridiculous. And so to go to Antarctica and have a pyramid built by ancient aliens, it was just so awesome. And then the lore of the predators and the aliens together, oh man, it just checked all my boxes of every dorky thing that I love. I was like, yes, this is it.
Awesome. Lindsay said she used to like you, Durban. So.
Well, Mother Mayhem, if I can win you back somehow, I will. Just you want me to buy you a present?
You don't want her on
Say
your
that the
bedside,
Black
I'll tell you
Xmas
that.
remake is the best.
Yeah. Okay, so we got some. Let me see what we got here. Total Recall or Commando? I'm gonna go Commando. I mean, Commando's freaking everything. I love Commando. It's great.
Total Recall is the better movie.
Recall.
Total Recall is the better movie. Commando is the one I'll watch more often.
Yeah, that's my answer really. So
Total Recall's a better movie, and Total Recall's the one I'll watch more often.
Durban, did you give your
I
answer?
somehow missed Commando, so I'm going to have to go with Total Recall.
Oh my God, man, you gotta watch Commando. That is classic Schwarzenegger. Like that might be like my number 2 favorite Schwarzenegger movie. Maybe number 3. Yeah,
Nice.
number 3. Yeah. Wolfman's Got Nards says, if you haven't already discussed it, my question is, what could have been with Neil Blomkamp's Alien movie? I'll let Cody start with this one.
It's hard to say because right when that was kind of coming along, Neil Blomkamp I have not seen Chappie, but the popular opinion is that it's not a very good movie. So he started to really lose his spot in Hollywood that he gained with District 9.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Neil Blomkamp is necessarily the best person to direct the movie, but his concept and the concept art that we saw was fascinating.
Yeah.
And I was all for it. A lot of the fan base was all for it, but then it got chopped in half by Ridley Scott, who said, "To hell with that. I'm making my own movies, for better or worse." But what could have come from it, I don't know, because I trust the concept. I don't trust the director.
I think we would have got some great design work.
Mm-hmm.
I think the technology would have been more akin to the James Cameron style of filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have appreciated that, I think. But yeah, given that he's made... See, I think District 9's overrated myself. I actually prefer Elysium.
I do too.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you with confidence one thing we'd get. Charlton Copley.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we would definitely get that. He would play the Xenomorph. My thoughts on that, because Blomkamp did District 9, that makes me curious to see what he could do with it. I think he would fit right in with the Alien franchise, actually, and he would mix it up a bit. So, and it does interest me to see what they could do with living characters of Newt and Hicks. If Newt, I don't even know, would they bring Newt back?
Yeah, they were.
They were,
I would
okay.
want Newt back, but she'd be like all grown up and older.
Well, that was the whole concept. It was a really old, grizzled Sigourney Weaver. It was an old, grizzled Hicks with like the scarring from what happened at the end of Aliens, and they were in like these tech suits, and then they had this younger 20-something-year-old that was going to be Newt.
Yeah.
So that was the concept, was like a time jump if they had actually survived and didn't have that bullshit at the beginning of Alien 3.
My guess is they would recast her because the alien.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. She quit acting right after Newt, and she became a teacher. So when she grew up. So yeah, I don't think that they might ask her to come back, but I don't know.
No, they would only have asked Michael Biehn to come back. Sigourney Weaver would have been a shoe-in.
Yeah, they should get Shawnee Vinson to play Newt. I think she would be great as Newt.
I like that you're completely dismissive of her because she hasn't been acting in a while, but you want Edward Furlong back.
Well, he's still a card-carrying actor.
Well, Edward Furlong was acting for a while.
Yeah.
She made one movie as a kid in a small role and then quit.
And then the calendar had a 2 in front of it, and we said goodnight Charlie to him, and we haven't seen him in, 2 decades?
Yeah.
Well, he was in the Night of the Demons remake.
Crow Wicked Prayer.
Oh, God. Oh, that's the worst movie ever. And he's not the reason that's the worst movie. He is a big part of why that's the worst movie ever, actually, if I'm being honest. So, oh, God. Okay, let's see if we get any more questions in here. Best alien movie is The Faculty. Faculty's good. Not better than, that's a different beast, but... Yeah.
Love The Faculty.
I don't think I might have seen The Faculty, but it's been a very long time. I love Signs. That was one of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies.
Yeah, Signs is a good one.
Yeah, Faculty's good, but it doesn't touch Alien or Aliens.
No.
Or even Prometheus and Covenant, for that matter. So.
Wet Dream says, should we get more Ridley Scott Alien where Covenant left off, or are you guys over it? No, I definitely want them to close that gap, for sure.
I'm not going to be heartbroken because, like I said, I think they leave enough there where you can fill in a little bit of gap just fine. But even as somebody that's a criticizer of those two movies, I would, if they asked, hey, you want a third movie and we can wrap this thing up? Sure. Show it to me. Let me see how you connect the dots.
I just want to see the completion of David's story.
Me too.
Like, that is so fascinating. I want to see his end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want my cake and eat it too. I want them to finish the Prometheus storyline and go ahead and do Blomkamp stuff. Let's get it all. Give us all of it. All of it.
Yeah.
Get a new Alien every year. Just a new Star Wars it.
Yeah.
So an Alien side story, and then every 2 years you get the actual next chapter in Alien. Yeah.
Ripley an Alien story.
A Ripley origin story.
Well, I guess we'll start closing it off here. Bryan, what do you got coming up, brother?
Oof, blimey.
Besides 25 already recorded videos. Jesus.
Yeah, so Final Destination, reviewing that franchise, plus doing a ranking video. Got Scream coming, doing all of those films. Got From Dusk Till Dawn, the 3 movies did for that. We'll be doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I'm honestly not looking forward to. Chucky, all the Chucky films, I want to get that on them as well. So yeah, look out for them. They'll be on their way at some point. So.
Nice. CP?
I don't want to devote myself to any one thing or another. I just watched Cannibal Holocaust for
Jesus
for the homework for that, and that it's not going to be quick when we get into that video.
Constant rabbit hole with you, I swear.
Yeah, that Who Would Like It series is just an absolute mistake. Yeah. My anniversary video should be reshot tonight or tomorrow night, and that should be up relatively soon. I'm heading up on 4K, so I'll be doing a 4K collection video. I don't know why, but that's happening.
I don't know why. I say that with every video, CP.
4K collection, hashtag.
Yeah. Why am I doing this?
Yeah, I'm not a Bluetooth, but here's my Blu-ray collection. Who am I kidding? People like the Emily and I videos. We'll probably do a first reaction to Us this week, so there's that.
Oh, does that come out this next week, right?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, whatever you call it, this week.
Durban, what do you got coming up, brother?
Oh, I got a few things. I'm working on a MCU series where I'm watching all the movies in chronological order. So I'm releasing it by phases, each phase in chronological order, and kind of just going through that. So I'm excited to, nerd out about that.
Nice.
I get to go see Shazam early with that Fandango showing thingy. So
I'm
like,
cool.
Yes, I cannot wait to review Shazam and get that stuff going. So, some MCU stuff, some DC stuff, and I'm sure right after Shazam, Cody and I will rejoin forces and do a State of the DCEU about
good.
all that stuff.
That's good stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cody, what do you got?
Well, I just dropped yesterday the long hyped Nightmare on Elm Street kill ranking, doing very well. At some point, I'm going to do the Halloween franchise next, and then lead up to Friday the 13th, because that's going to be an insane amount of kills to rank.
Oh my god!
But Halloween within the next month or so. Friday the 13th, don't rush me. That's what I'll say. But beyond that, I'm also going to be reviewing Us when it comes out. Ranking the 2 Jordan Peele films. No, I'm not gonna do that. But no. We got Endgame around the corner, and then I'll have a collection of videos surrounding that. Probably. I do want to get back into reviewing a horror franchise. I don't know what my choice is going to be yet. I have the same homework that Bryan has.
Creatures.
We had, yeah. So it's. I don't know which franchise it's going to be yet. It's not going to be Hellraiser. Everybody wants me to do Hellraiser, but I'm not ready for that yet. It's going to be a franchise that I actually enjoy. So I'm not sure. I'll announce that soon. Aside from that, a Patreon request or 2. I still have about 5 or 6 that I need to do. I got most of those knocked out in January and February, but for the most part, that's it. And then also, if I can get my shit together, because now I'm the asshole holding this up. We got Phantasm 3 coming up.
Mine's recorded.
Yep, so Lisa's recorded, just needs to be edited. Mine needs the whole shebang, so I'm going to try to get that recorded tonight. If not, absolute latest, tomorrow.
Cool.
Just depends on how things go around the house. As you can see, it's a little bit dramatic behind me. But that's it, pretty much.
Well, I can't believe how far I've gotten on this Star Wars series. Like, I just finished up Empire Strikes Back. So I plan on watching Return of the Jedi either today or tomorrow and get that recorded. My slasher ranking series, those have been really successful. So I think I'm going to continue those, and I'm going to do... Bryan kind of gave me the idea for this today, actually. I might do top 10 worst slasher movies. That could be a lot of fun. So I'm thinking about doing that. My Revisited series, I got to get to It Follows Revisited. I've been planning on doing that one for months. So I got to get to that. I like doing my commentaries, so I think I'm going to do, big surprise here, the Halloween franchise, because I did. I know. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Milk that cow, Lee. Milk that cow.
I know. I did 2018 a couple months ago, and I thought, you know what? It's fun doing commentaries on these movies, so I think I'm going to bounce around. I'm probably going to do Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 next, just a nice commentary this week. I think I'm going to try to do that and get that out. And I just like, mixing it up with the chat and talking about these movies. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And other than that, that's pretty much everything I got planned for now.
In 2021, are we going to get a revisited commentary?
Yeah, I know. Well, I actually did promise a revisited Halloween 2018, but I'm still waiting a little bit. I'm not ready to jump into that yet. I'm just going to let it die down a bit because...
For my own selfish enjoyment, I want you to put some time between 2018 and that review because I want your thoughts to evolve.
Yeah, and I will say my opinion on that movie is not what it was the first weekend I saw it. I definitely noticed some problems. I will say I watched CP's defend this with Andrew, and Andrew made some damn good. CP did too, but I think Andrew made some good comments in there that really got me thinking. You
needed to hear it from Andrew.
What did he say that I?
Hold on. No, Cody did too. But what I'm saying is, like, he was talking about like all the Easter eggs that are in the movie, and thinking back on it, maybe they did go a little bit overboard with the Easter eggs, like Cody. So I still love the movie though. I've watched it 3 times. The third time I watched it, I still got those feels for it like I did before. Me and Cody were talking about, like, people give this movie such a hard time. CP brought it up in the defend this. It's a slasher movie, but for some reason people want to dig so deep into it. But then you bring up a movie like the Friday the 13th remake, where you want to talk about shitty endings. That movie has it pretty much rips off the ending of the first movie, just in a different way.
Agree with that.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess apples and oranges. I don't know. But
that's on the Late Late Horror Show. Dino's
yeah, Late Horror Show. Dino, who has a fantastic channel. Matter of fact, I'll put a link to that defend this episode here in the comments after this, so you guys can go check it out. CP made some good points, and
I tried.
It's so funny.
Tried.
CP though, every time he like went to you and he said, "CP is the guy who loves Halloween," you were like, "It's."
Dude, you know what? I should be a moderator for stuff like that because I tend to. Like, I'll be halfway through a sentence, and I'm like, you know what? I could see the opposite end of this argument, and I'll just kill myself right in the middle of the topic. I'm like, actually...
Yeah, you tried, though.
Yeah.
You made some good points, actually, though. You do. I do think
tried,
people dig a little bit too deep into it. But
if people took it at face value, the movie's... It's not terrible. It's not Citizen Kane, but it's... Guys, relax.
I want me and CP doing a defend this on the Friday remake. That's what I want.
Oh, that'd be good. Well, a lot of the points Andrew was making, though, I could come back with something. Like, I didn't agree with everything he was saying, but he still had intelligent arguments. So I guess it's, it's movies.
And he just wouldn't stop for a good 10 minutes in the middle there. It was just I'm trying to keep notes. Like, all right, I have to remember this. And
I had that same thing with Vincent because Vincent had so much he wanted to get off his chest. Yeah. There was a good half hour there where I was like, tell me more.
I'm just sitting back, even with the Friday, because I watched that one with you and Cody, too, with Cody and Vincent, and I was just like, it ain't that bad. I mean, it's okay. I don't know. Like, he really hated the remake, whereas last time I watched it, I had some fun with it. I mean, I have problems with it, but it's still fun, so I don't know. They're just movies at the end of the day, I guess. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody has a great day. And CP, take us out with this week's edible panty flavor.
It is cranberry today.
Durban's like, what is going on?
I know. Durban, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
That's awesome.
Good day.